details, gatewayfargo.com.
KQWB, West Fargo, Fargo-Moorhead, and KPFX, HD3 Kindred, Bison 1660. Powered by Gateway Chevrolet, Cadillac, Nissan, and Hyundai in Fargo.
And here's what you need to know.
News in the NFL, reports saying Giants quarterback Daniel Jones has been cleared for contact and is on track to return next weekend as they face the Raiders. ESPN reports the Titans are expected to stick with Will Levis at quarterback. They're playing Thursday night against the Steelers. Reports say Falcons Pro Bowl defensive tackle Grady Jarrett suffered a torn ACL in yesterday's loss to the Titans. Reports also saying Patriots receiver Kendrick Bourne tore his ACL in their loss to the Dolphins. NFL media says Jets center Connor McGovern has a dislocated kneecap. The report says he is seeking a second opinion to see if he needs surgery. He's currently considered week to week. Packers and linebacker Rashawn Gary have agreed to a 4-year extension worth just over $107 million. And Cooper Flagg, the top high school basketball prospect and the projected number 1 pick in the 2025 NBA draft, announced his commitment to play at Duke next year. I'm Nick Cope.
Bison Pride, everything we do.
This one's for you, Corso, wherever you are. Give me that Bison.
This is the Insiders on Bison 1660, covering the world of NDSU sports like no other.
North Dakota State advances to the round of 32.
Touchdown, Bison!
The Insiders are presented by Proseed. Need seed? Think Proseed. Welcome to your green and gold HQ for the Bison. The Insiders on Bison 1660 starts now.
Ball to K-Side red zone from the 15, first down and 10. Run play up the middle. Barika Penu charging forward. No, it's Cam Miller on the keeper, and he runs it right into the end zone, and he is in there for a Bison touchdown.
No.
Here we go. Murray State, second offensive possession. They start from their own 25. First and 10. DJ Williams to throw underneath, and it is intercepted. Intercepted by the Bison. Logan Kopp got it again. This kid is everywhere. Bison trying to cash in off of the interception by Logan Kopp. Here's first down and goal from the 8. Miller gets the snap, keeps it, flips it, right back, caught by Henderson, looking for the corner inside the 5, diving at the pylon, and he has got it. Touchdown, Bison. Braylon Henderson.
It's getting saucy.
Ryan Phillips with a booming punt. Huge punt back inside the 35. It's taken by Price at the 34. Makes a man miss 40. 45-50. Price to the clear. 45-40. Gets by the punter 30. Sideline 20. 15-10. Skating the sideline. And in for the touchdown. Jaden Price. His 4th career punt return touchdown. The Price is right.
Good for him.
Boom, here we go. Happy Monday, Victory Monday for NDSU and the beginning of Dakota Marker Week. It is Marker Week here on the Insiders, NDSU, SDSU. We turn all of our attention as we hit the road, Jack. Taking on the Jacks, going down to Brookings. See what you did there? Nicely done there by Andy on the highlight mashup.
That was even more so telling Murray State, hit the road. Your first time in the Fargo Dome, hit the road, go back, get better. We'll see you here in a number of years whenever you come back to the Fargo Dome. Yeah. Now let's move on to the game that everyone's been looking forward to.
I'm excited. I'm pumped. I'm amped. I'm juiced. I'm jacked for this game. I mean, I have this game circled on the calendar from the moment that I came out here in July. Everybody has had this game circled on the calendar ever since Frisco. It has been a long 10-month journey to get this rematch, NDSU and SDSU, and it begins this November gauntlet for the Bison that we've all basically been aware of ever since the UND loss. You knew you had the 2 games to get through October. You had to get through those, take care of business there. The Bison did that. How much did we learn from those games? Not sure. We're about to find out. And it starts in Brookings on Saturday. I'm pumped up for this game. You only get so many of these games. No matter what you think about the contest of if NDSU stands a good chance to win, if you think SDSU will have them overmatched, no matter what you think, you only get so many of these games as a fan, in life. These are the ones that you live for. A rivalry game where you can throw the records out the window and you would hope and play with a little bit of pride and come out there and make a statement as NDSU tries to get on the back back on the right side of this rivalry and get the marker back. They've lost 4 in a row here against the Jacks. We all know the circumstance around it. Got embarrassed last year in Frisco. We'll see if the guys have a chip on their shoulder. We'll see how they come out. There are a number of players on this NDSU team who have not beaten the Jacks throughout their career. Can they get off the schneid, and can they pick themselves up? Because not only does the rivalry and the pride factor and everything that goes into this game from a local micro perspective, but in the macro, if you lose this game, if you're the Bison, you're going to be sweating the next 2 weeks, and the next 2 are absolute must-wins if you want to sleep good at night in terms of your FCS playoff hopes and keeping the rest of the season alive. So I just got shot out of a cannon right there because I'm fired up about this week. I know that's a lot right off the top of your opening monologue, but we're here for you. 701-476-1660. Tons of Bison football today. Vikings, tough one. Andy, my condolences. Kirk Cousins, Achilles, not good for the Minnesota Vikings.
I was in the Twin Cities and we were doing the Insiders, Vikings edition. The intro song, the highlight montage would have been the song "Bittersweet Symphony."
Yeah,
because you go to Green Bay, you beat your rival, you make them look inept as well. They have got a long, long ways to go. You beat them in front of their fans. That is great. But your season also feels like now it has been smashed to pieces because your quarterback that many love to hate, but now when he's gone, you don't realize what you have until you don't have it anymore. Right when he went down, you saw that slow motion replay. I didn't need another replay. I knew right away. It's like that was the Achilles. You could see the little rubber band snap in the back. You could see it on that slow motion. Like, there it goes. That's the one. And you didn't believe it. We told you Minnesota sports is cursed around here. You didn't believe it. Nobody does until something like this happens. Then you're starting to say, okay, maybe you're onto something a little bit.
Yeah.
Yep, that one hurt.
I see you.
Yep.
I hear you. That's
Thank
all
you.
I can say. I can't.
You know it. I mean, Anthony
can't
Richardson's
relate.
done as well, so you know what this is like. You got your quarterback too. But it did feel like, a couple weeks ago, but go back before the Niners game. I was kind of on the point of, probably Kirk's last year. If we lose a bunch of games, it's not the worst thing in the world. But then you beat the Niners. That offensive line has looked very legit. All of a sudden, that line might be one of the better pass blocking lines in the NFL. They can't run block, but they can pass block for sure. You're going to get JJ back. Addison looks like an absolute stud. Now you got Hawkinson, a defense that's getting better week by week and aggressive and getting turnovers. And
they're winning games without
Brian
Jefferson.
Flores.
Winning games without the best receiver in the league.
And then you're playing the Packers, and they put a team away. They got a turnover, then scored a touchdown. They're up 24-3 or whatever it was at one point. They're not going to win a game against a bad team by 4. Every game seems to come down to the wire. They actually put a team away. And then that happened. Yep. Finally, it feels like you got an offensive line in front of Kirk for the first time. You got weapons. You got a good defense. Maybe for the first time, we'll see what Kirk looks like with a very, very legit team. And he never gets hurt. He's never gotten hurt. He missed a game because of COVID. Never been hurt in his career. Mm-hmm. There you go. Yeah. And not a fluky, rolled an ankle. Just a weird, wrong step. And you know how everyone says, turf's the problem, right? We got to get off this artificial turf. Artificial turf. Natural grass surface there. Still fluky things can happen, and they seem to happen to the Vikings quite often.
They dangled hope right in front of you after the Niners win. You got Cousins, who's playing like an all-pro, playing like an MVP.
Yeah.
At age 34, Kirk Cousins playing like an MVP, wheeling the Vikings back into contention. As we talked about it too, Andy, off the air, Vikings in a fairly wide open National Football Conference in the NFC, aside from the Eagles, and with the Lions coming back down to earth, it looked like the Vikes would get back into contention, especially with the line of games they've got coming up on the schedule. And then that's what happens.
Hey, Jaron Hall, you never know. He could be great.
He is a grown man. He's about 26 years old.
Exactly.
If he hasn't turned 26 already, yeah.
Well, last I saw, he completed 3 out of 4 passes. I believe. Stat line, right? 75% completion percentage, pretty good.
Well,
he's mobile.
Yeah.
I can talk myself into something, but the interesting part is obviously the trade deadline is tomorrow. Do you go out and do something?
Right.
Do you go trade for a veteran? Do you go trade for someone just to at least be a veteran backup? Right now, the backup is Sean Mannion, who no one would feel at all confident about.
Old Oregon State,
if needed. You do have Nick Mullins, who was the backup. He got hurt in practice. He's been on the IR. He'll be back in 2 weeks. So week 10, I think, is the first week he can come back. So you got one more game to get through before that. and they like him. And he's won games. He has won games in his career at San Francisco. So, like, in terms of backups, he's not that bad. He can win you some games. But, yeah, Jaren Hall goes out and performs really well this next week. It's probably just going to be his season. And you see what the rookie's got. And if he's got something good, then you're in a great spot. Mm-hmm. But if he's got something bad, you're probably in a spot where you're drafting a rookie quarterback.
Yeah, no, man, it's going to be interesting. So we put it out there for you. That is our question today on the Insiders. What should the Vikings do at quarterback with Kirk Dunn? Sign a free agent, trade for a veteran, roll with Jaren Hall. Let us know. It's up on Facebook, 701-476-1660. You got a myriad of options. Carson Wentz has come up as a name. Obviously, Carson has ties here to the region, ties with NDSU, has been looking for a home for a minute now since his time in Washington wrapped up, and he's part of this crop of capable veteran quarterbacks who have had success in the NFL. You look at the Matt Ryans of the world, even Ryan Tannehill might be in that conversation too, right? Yeah, Will Levis go out there and perform, which shocked me. I couldn't believe
Levis
that.
Looked good. I think Tannehill is now available.
Unbelievable what Levis did.
Andy Dalton.
Tennessee. Andy Dalton. These guys who have had success, do you go and do that? Or, yeah, like Andy said, do you go with Jaren Hall? Do you rock with him the rest of the way? See what happens? And you have a supporting cast there offensively, right? For all the issues that the Vikings had, Kirk Cousins, though, was the reason why they are now 4-4, right? Kirk Cousins was playing incredibly well, the best that we've ever seen him play. He was the reason why they had gotten the wins that they had gotten and were in the games that they had lost. The passing attack's been prolific. It begins and it ends with a quarterback. Losing Kirk, your competitive aspirations for the Vikes are clearly down the drain. But what do you do here at the quarterback spot if you want to continue to contend, or do you just kind of let the chips fall where they may?
They're down the drain until Jaren Hall goes out and throws 4 touchdowns on the Atlanta Falcons this week, and then we're right back to it at that point. So give the guy a chance. I say you give Jaren Hall a shot. You go see what he can do. You drafted him for a reason. He did some okay things in the preseason too. It'll be interesting once Nick Mullins comes back.
Yep.
Is Hall okay? If he looks bad, clearly you just say, okay, we're going to go with Mullins here. Best thing for the team. If he looks good, then you obviously just have to ride things with Jaren Hall. He's mobile. You can do some things, get him out of the pocket a little bit. Don't think he's a very polished pocket passer at this point of his career. Had the fumble where you could tell he just didn't sense the rush coming and fumbles the ball there. So got to do better at that. But the other thing about a young quarterback or even any backup quarterback, the best thing for them would be to have a great running game. Vikings don't have a very good running game. And for some reason, PFF has them ranked as like the 5th best run blocking offensive line. But man, there is no room. There's no holes. There's guys in the backfield. Every time they try to run, it just doesn't seem like you have any sort of running game there to help a young quarterback out. But you do have Justin Jefferson in a couple of weeks. You got Jordan Addison, got TJ Hawkins, and you got some pieces around you. And again, a defense that's playing better, and it's not a world beater of a schedule. You got the Falcons the next week. You got the Saints and the Raiders on this schedule coming up. Like, you've got winnable games where Jaren Hall doesn't have to go in there and feel like I've got to throw for 4 or 5 touchdowns in a game. Just, frankly, be a game manager and don't ruin it. Don't screw it up.
The other thing that the Vikings, if you want to keep the optimism glasses on here, Case Keenum.
Yes.
Case Keenum had the Vikings in an NFC title game. Case Keenum. So
when Teddy Bridgewater went down, we thought the season was lost. Then you traded for Sam Bradford. You were fine. When Bradford went down, season's over, season's lost. Case Keenum brings you to an NFC championship game. It has happened before. Maybe you've had a better defense on those teams, but the defense is playing better.
Yeah.
And, hey, you never know. That's why you got to play the games. But either you end up really good in a spot like that, or you end up bad and you're in a top 10 spot for the draft, and you can find a quarterback for the future. It sucks to think about it that way. I hate it for Kirk. I feel for the guy. He's playing probably his best play of his career.
Oh, yeah.
He's trying to extend that career for a few more years at age 35, trying to get that thing for another 2, 3, 4 years if he can. I think it's a very good possibility. He's thrown his last pass for the Vikings. Could they sign him and bring him back next season on maybe a reduced cost now? Yeah, possibly. But if you're in the top 10, I just don't see them doing that of a draft. And if Jaren Hall plays really well, then I don't see them bringing back Kirk either. Mm-hmm. Why would you bring Kirk back when you've got your quarterback? You're not going to sign him as a $27 million backup quarterback. That's not going to happen either. So he's probably throwing his last pass as a Viking. There's a chance.
I think, sadly, that's probably the case.
Yeah, and I hate that for him. Love the guy.
But. Unbelievable. And it was just starting to get to the peak. But, yeah, why would you at that stage, that age, if you end up going downhill record-wise, you could get a decent pick, and with the crop of quarterbacks that will be available in April, yeah, it's very likely. I think you're right on that, Andy. Probably the last pass that Cousins thrown as a Viking.
And it was a completion to Brandon Powell, his last pass.
Brandon Powell, baby.
Last 2 plays, took back-to-back sacks as well.
Who's come out of nowhere here the last few weeks in Jefferson's absence. So, yeah.
Steve Zaske did bring up the name you mentioned, signed Carson Wentz to the practice squad. He texted us there, 701-476-1660. Many people have brought that one up. I know our good guy Cole Jurek brought it up on Twitter. I think Swanee even mentioned it on Twitter. I love Carson. Would I like for that to happen? Yeah, it would create a crazy stir, especially around here. And I'd love it for Carson. He hasn't even been in a training camp or any sort of anything this whole year. The odds of that happening to me are very, very slim. I'm just going to be honest about it. Would I love it for Carson? Yeah, but they brought Colt McCoy in for tryouts a couple of weeks ago before they ended up just signing Sean Mannion to the practice squad. Colt McCoy's got some experience with Kevin O'Connell back to Washington. If they were going to sign a veteran that's not on a roster right now, I think it would be Colt McCoy over Carson Wentz, because Carson just hasn't been on a team all year. And I think more than likely, career's probably done. I hate to say it, but I'm just going to be the fact of the matter. If you're not on a team, and we're here on October 30th,
right?
There's been injuries. The Jets, obviously, so. Would I love it? Yeah, but I don't think it's the most likely thing that's going to happen.
No, it's a great point. There's a reason, right? If there have been opportunities, unfortunately, from Carson's standpoint, haven't been able to been getting the call there. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the Vikings do. Let us know. What do you do at quarterback now for Minnesota moving forward? 701-476-1660. We're talking Bison as well. Live here in our First Western Bank Broadcast Center.
How about that win over Murray State, Sam?
Want to get to that here next?
Yes.
Want to get to that here next? Woo! That's what we'll get to next. If you love Bison football like we do, you're going to love this. The Bison credit card from First Western, featuring cashback rewards and no annual fee. First Western Bank and Trust and the Bison, you can bank on us. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. Phil Hansen at 11:30. We'll visit with the Hall of Famer, talk NDSU football. Will Ragatz from SI.com covering the Vikings. He's going to sort out the Vikings situation with Cousins and the injury. He'll be joining us on the program at noon. When we come back, NDSU, they beat Murray State, close out October, 6-2. It's Dakota Marker Week, SDSU Week. We're talking about it all week long, including in the next segment. We're going to talk about the Bison. Did we take anything away against Murray State? And let's set the table a little bit for the big one down in Brookings. That's coming up next here on The Insiders.
A sports talk station that Bison Nation deserves. Bison 1660.
In the world of agriculture, every role a woman plays is vital.
Meet Carmen, an agronomist who ensures every seed thrives. Her expertise fuels the success of our farms. And there's Judy, Tina, and Carrie, the backbone of our office. Their dedication keeps everything running smoothly. At Proceed, we appreciate and value every woman in agriculture. Whether in the field, the office, or raising a family, your contributions shape our industry. Need seed? Think Proceed. Proceed.net.
This season, the NDSU Bison have added a new recruit to the lineup. This new player is smooth and cold as ice. It's a refreshing start to the new football season, but this player is only available for a limited time. It's the NDSU Bison commemorative Bud Light cans. Decked out with Bison pride, these cans feature the colors and helmet of the herd. Bison fans, grab these special limited edition Bud Light Bison cans now at your favorite liquor store. Bud Light, the official beer sponsor of the Bison.
Attention, attention! Are you an electrical journeyman or apprentice? Then we want you. JDP Electric is looking for journeymen and apprentices, and we're hiring immediately. JDP offers competitive pay, incentives, and a fun team to work with. If you're not happy where you're at, we'll make it worth your time to check out why you should join the JDP team. JDP is a family-owned and operated business that's been around this region for over 20 years. Apply online at jdpelectric.net. Start your new tomorrow today. Come be a part of the JDP difference.
Luther Family Ford works hard every day to give the community the best customer service in all their departments. The sales team is always ready to help, and they are delighted to have a great selection of new Ford trucks and SUVs on the lot. They invite you to stop by for a test drive. You'll enjoy working with the sales department, service department, and parts. Or, if you are thinking of selling your current vehicle, they will pay cash for it. Visit with their sales staff today or shop online, lutherfamilyford.com.
Attention all jewelry lovers. Have you been searching for that one-of-a-kind piece that truly reflects your personal style? Look no further than Schmidt's Gems and Fine Jewelry. We specialize in custom jewelry design to bring your vision to life. And if you're in the market for something new, our showcases are filled with gorgeous, unique pieces that you won't find anywhere else. Schmidt's Gems and Fine Jewelry, where your style meets our expertise. Online at schmidtsjewelry.com.
33 years and counting. CI Sport, #1 for corporate, resort, collegiate, and high school apparel. We've partnered with college bookstores, high schools, and retailers to bring you high-quality game day apparel. Whether for work or play, every day is game day at CI Sport. With brands you love like Nike, Ozio, Under Armour, and the CI Sport brand. With competitive pricing and fast turnaround times, we help you play harder, work harder, and cheer harder in style. CI Sport, 2121 43rd Street in Fargo and CISport.com.
From the booth to the sidelines, they got you covered. It's The Insiders with Andy Rickoff and Sam Niederman on Bison 1660 and 92.7 FM.
Welcome back into the Insiders here on a Monday. Victory Monday for both the Bison, 38-6, and the Minnesota Vikings, 24-14.
That's the one thing. You still can't forget. The Vikings did get a win, and they did beat the Packers, which makes it all the more sweeter.
100% they did. Like I said, bittersweet symphony. But on the plus side, Jaron Hall might already be better than the Packers quarterback. So there's a plus side to this.
They got some issues
there. They got some issues to work out.
Bay.
So do the Vikings. Everybody does at this point.
Ian, you heard it. Get bittersweet symphony ready for the out music.
That might be the out music this time around. But we are here with you, and we want to let you know that tomorrow we are going to announce the winner of the Stay and Play package to Dakota Magic Casino and Dakota Nation Sportsbook for our Betting on the Border contest. You guys have been texting in the last couple of weeks. We appreciate you doing that. Again, you got to text the keyword border. That's spelt BORDER. Text that one to 701.
He's a former spelling bee.
Geography bee.
Geography. Mm-hmm. My bad.
You're right.
Geography bee Elite 8 participant. You didn't win it, right?
Yeah,
you made it to the Elite 8,
Sweet 16.
Sweet 16. Okay.
I don't think I quite cracked the Elite 8 on that one. But BORDER to 701-476-1660. And then you're registered to win the Stay and Play package from Dakota Nation Sportsbook and watch the Dakota Marker game down there on the border in Hankinson at Dakota Magic Casino. We will pick the winner tomorrow on the show.
What did we learn in this Murray State win for the Bison? 38-6. I've got one thing that I learned. What did you learn, Andy?
Murray State's got a ways to go.
Yeah.
Things we learned about the Bison is what you mean? Yeah. What did we learn about NDSU? Jaden Price is still an electric punt returner.
I was glad that happened. That was great.
Mm-hmm. He's now tied a NDSU record for most punt returns in a career. So that is very good stuff with Richard Lewis way back when. So fun to see him kind of get explosive in the punt return game a bit. And then I think on top of that, things that we have learned that you can say, okay, this wasn't just because you played against Western Illinois and just because you played against Murray State. I think we've seen another commitment to the power running game. I think we've seen that commitment now.
I think that's an interesting point. James Hendricks on our broadcast said it during the game. He said NDSU's success in the run game, especially early against Murray State, was we run our RPO stuff and kind of edge stuff. And think about Cam on the quarterback keeper. Once again, Cam Miller led the Bison in rushing. He had 55, had the 2 tutties in the game. NDSU seems to be able to get people kind of off kilter when they run perimeter, but we're committed to running the ball for sure. I think it'll be interesting to see how that works against a better defense in South Dakota State. You got South Dakota State's the number 1 defense in the land. They're number 1 scoring-wise. They only give up 11 a game. They're number 1 total defense. They're top 10 against the run. They're only giving up 90 yards a game down on the ground. So that perimeter run game has seemed to be working because it seems whenever NDSU goes between the tackles, they've been stopped more often times than not. Only getting kind of modest gains there.
Right.
So I thought that was an interesting observation from James. What I took away is Cam Miller's your best player. Cam Miller is the best player on this team. 4 total touchdowns. He had 2 through the air, 2 on the ground. He's leading the country in completion percentage still, albeit, right, if you look at the sample size, he's thrown it far less than other quarterbacks across the country. That's by design. NDSU, in their victories, they've been up by a lot. They've run a lot. NDSU has achieved a little more balance. They have improved their passing game dramatically from a year ago. I think Cam's an incredible story. 8 weeks in, I think you could say, hands down, this guy is the best player on NDSU. And if they are to make a run, if they are to achieve something in the remainder of this season, Miller is going to be a big reason why. He's been terrific on the ground. And you talked about it too, Andy. We talked about this when we first began chopping up NDSU football when I first got here. This guy was not a born runner necessarily, Cam Miller, when he got here. That kind of came in the back half of last season. He scores 15 rushing touchdowns in the back half of last season was where majority of that production came in. This year, he's already
a lot faster.
He's gotten faster. You know, you look at the numbers this year, he adds 2 more to his ledger. That puts him up to, 9 or 10 on the season. He's NDSU's leading rusher, believe it or not, by a yard over Tamarick Williams with 388 yards on the ground. And what he's done as a passer cannot be understated. 10 months ago at this time, Cam Miller went 1 of 12 against Incarnate Word in the semifinals. And the word was out, right? And that was all the criticism on NDSU's passing attack and lack thereof, right? The word was out, and teams were loading the box, and it was a one-dimensional offense. What he has done this year, I think, has been incredibly efficient. He has been reliable. And save for the 2 picks, right? You know, you had a pick in each loss, and the UND one rather timely there, but, you know, we kind of broke that down a couple of weeks ago. I think you take away another great performance by Cam, put in another good day in the office. I think he's the best player on this team, and they're going to need him down the stretch here to play like it and find another gear. I think what he's done has been good in the confines of 6-2. You've lost 2 games. Unfortunately, weren't able to mount comebacks when you were playing from behind. You might need the quarterback to be Captain Cam here at the end if you want to beat a good defense in South Dakota State, if you want to be a really strong defense in Southern Illinois, if you want to go into the Unidome and win there to end the regular season. That was my kind of big takeaway, is that this guy's the best player on the team. He's a focal point of your offense, whether it be throwing the ball, whether it be running the ball in the quarterback run game. They're going to need him. And they're going to need him on Saturday against SDSU. There's no doubt about that.
They had 28 pass attempts, 34 running attempts. Is it 50-50? No. Pretty darn close, though, to 50-50, especially in a game where you're blowing somebody out by as much as they were against Murray State. So the balance is there offensively. And I think it's a weird kind of situation you're in where we're saying, well, let's see a commitment to that power running game and get back to NDSU football, but we're also then saying, but Cam Miller's your best guy, you got to throw it. You know, that's like, to me, tells me just how hard the job is to be Tyler Roll right now.
Yeah.
Oh, we're NDSU, you got to be able to run the football, you got to be able to control the clock, but also Cam Miller's playing phenomenal. You got to use him and through the air, and you got these great receivers. So it's an interesting balance. You have to kind of walk that line if you're Tyler Roll. But Cam's fantastic, and I wouldn't just say he's the best player for NDSU. I'd say he's the best quarterback in the league. There's some really good quarterbacks. Gronowski is very good. What he is able to do. Theo Day can throw the ball all over the field, and he can have some crazy stats and numbers for sure. But what Cam's done this year in terms of running. With now 9 total touchdowns. He got 388 yards, like you said, 1 yard better than Tamarick Williams so far this season. And then you throw in the 76 completion percentage, only throwing 2 turnovers, 2 interceptions on the year to 10 touchdowns. All of that combined, now we'd like to see maybe more than 176 yards per game. But again, that's 1 out of design, and 2, these last 2 weeks especially, that number would have been a lot higher if he's playing in the second half of games, which he just hasn't been. You know, so. And even when he has been playing, it's just handing the ball off because that's how lopsided those games have been. So some of those numbers could be better for him, but 10 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 76 completion percentage. You've got 9 touchdowns on the ground. He is the perhaps the most valuable player in the league, but definitely I think the best quarterback in the league.
No, I think that's a fair point. And it's an interesting crop of quarterbacks. As you mentioned, there are some good ones. Gronowski is very similar in terms of his productivity, both through the air and with the quarterback run game, too, for SDSU. They'll match up again on Saturday, and we'll get a glimpse at Cam as he tries to beat SDSU for the first time in his career.
Aiden Bauman's another very good quarterback.
Yeah, and
Baker.
We'll get into the game in a little bit, right? SDSU crushes USD 37-3, the final. USD ends up getting kind of the magic runs out for the moment, and now they're going to have to play SIU, so we'll see what happens there. We're going to get with Sam Herder tomorrow at 11:30.
I got some questions.
All that. I know you've got some questions.
Load it up.
Andy's ready to go. We almost bumped that spot up to today. We could have. We could have if we wanted to, yeah. A lot of FCS and Bison to talk. We're going to keep a conversation on NDSU going when we return with Phil Hansen, the Hall of Famer. Joins us next here on The Insiders.
The most complete Bison coverage in the region. Your Bison Nation station, Bison 1660.
Join the Bison 1660 Hotline Show live after every NDSU Bison football game at Applebee's. Andy, Chris, and former players will break down the Bison game. Who had the best catch, who ran for the most yards, and maybe who to watch for next week. While there, satisfy your hunger cravings and take advantage of Applebee's great happy hour specials. Plus, try your luck at winning Bison 1660 swag and NDSU tickets. After every Bison football game, enjoy the Bison Hotline live from Applebee's off 19th Avenue North, Fargo.
Corwin Toyota has over 20 new vehicles on the lot and ready for immediate delivery. Get an extra $750 allowance on all new ground inventory to use for upgrades. Add it to your trade value or off the price of your new vehicle. Plus financing as low as 3.99%. That's right, $750 allowance and 3.99% financing. If you're not looking to buy but need extra cash, that's okay. We'll pay you top dollar for your vehicle. Head to Corwin Toyota today or shop online, corwinauto.com.
Homewood Suites wants you to feel at home. This upscale extended stay brand understands that being away from home can be challenging. So Homewood Suites in North Fargo has designed their amenities to make life easier for you. At Homewood, you can relax in a variety of suites with full kitchens, complimentary hot breakfast, outdoor grills, and recreational areas that make stays more familiar. When you need to be away, but you still want to feel like home, choose Homewood Suites by Hilton. Find out more and book a stay at HomewoodSuites.com.
Brady Martz and Associates is in the business of making your life easier. Their financial and business advisory services are tailored just for you. Imagine focusing on what you do best while they handle the rest. From accounting to wealth management to savvy tax planning, they've got you covered. The success of your team, clients, and our communities is their mission. By streamlining your finances, they can help you amplify your impact. Connect with them today for a brighter financial future.
Brady Martz. Make every day count.
Here's your Red River Valley weather update on Bison 1660.
Monday in the Fargo-Moorhead area is going to be partly sunny and cold as high temperatures are going to near just 33 degrees. Wind gusts from the south can get as high as 23 miles an hour. Heading into Monday night, there's a 20% chance of snow before 1 a.m. as low temperatures drop to around 17 degrees. Wind gusts can get as high as 37 miles an hour.
This weather update brought to you by Brady Service Center. Brady Service Center has snacks, chips, and beverages to get you on the road fast. They're your one-stop shop for all your automotive and road trip needs in Moorhead.
Doesn't matter who you are or where you're from, you're always welcome where there's Jim Beam. Small town guy in a big city guy in a small town. Wherever Jim Beam is welcome, you'll be welcome. Country guy at a rock show, Viking fan at a Packer game. Just look for the Jim Beam, and you know you're always welcome. Your friends at Jim Beam remind you to drink responsibly.
It's time to go inside the huddle with Phil Hansen.
Batted in the air, intercepted. Phil Hansen, North Dakota State.
He represented NDSU for 11 years on the NFL gridiron.
Phil Hansen scooping it up into the end zone. Touchdown, Buffalo.
Phil Hansen today. Johnny on the spot comes up with a fumble recovery last series. Here he comes up with one and runs it in for a touchdown.
He's been calling games in the Bison broadcast booth for 20 years.
Special teams, doggone it, I was so angry at special teams last week. It's carrying over for this week. Kickoff, I don't want to see you guys looking for your lanes. I know what you're looking for. Oh, I got to get on this side of this. Get your butt down there and then decide what to do. Make a tackle.
When it comes to Bison football, no one knows it better than Phil. Now, here's the Hall of Famer, Phil Hansen.
Mr. Hansen joining us here on a Monday on The Insiders each and every week talking Bison football. Phil, great to have you. Good morning. How are you doing, my friend?
Very good on a cold, windy day. Goodness gracious. I forgot what it's like to be warm again.
Well, that's because you had the pheasant hunting trip over the weekend. Yes. It was just cold and wet the entire time, right?
It was. It's like that first burst of cold. It's just like you forget about it, and then you kind of get used to it again. But, wow, it was really a wake-up call this week.
You're going to forget what warmth is like probably for the next about 4 months, Phil. Hate to break it to you.
Yeah, but, Andy, you know what? I'm so glad I'm in the press box on game days, and you're on the sideline, or James is on the sideline.
Yeah, make sure to ask James this Saturday how he's feeling down there on the field. Yeah. Make sure.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Well, it's going to be a fun one this week, Phil. Excited to break this one down with it being SDSU week. First, let's close the book on Murray State. 38-6 win. Any observations or thoughts as the Bison improved to 6-2 with the victory?
Yeah, here's my observation. Looking at Murray State and wondering what it's going to be like when we go there next year, I didn't realize that there wasn't an airport wherever Murray State is. We got to fly into Paducah, Kentucky. So I'm not worried about the team or the game. I'm worried about myself. But anyway, I digress. Going to the game, yeah, I mean, they got a ways to go. Murray's got a ways to go. I mean, they came in touting this quarterback, and he wasn't very good. He wasn't very good. He didn't throw a very good ball, and yeah, the defense wasn't very good. All around, they need to improve. We're losing Western Illinois. I don't, from what I saw on Saturday, I don't know if Murray State is an opponent that's going to be better than Western Illinois at this juncture. Now, I hope they will. I hope they'll improve. But I didn't see it on Saturday.
And the travel into Macomb, very similar as Murray, Kentucky, I would say. I think it's pretty similar, although you could fly right into Macomb. There is the air. You could do that. I don't think you can do that there in Murray, Kentucky, like you said. The Hall of Famer Phil Hansen here with us on the Insiders. The win over Murray State and Western Illinois, really this 2-game sample size was kind of your tune-up for what this next game is going to be like, what this home stretch is going to be like for NDSU. Do you ever have a stretch like this, 3 games coming up where you've got SDSU, Southern Illinois, you've got UNI, and whether it be in college here at NDSU during your playing days or even in Buffalo where you're like, okay, this is a stretch that seems like a defining stretch as you get into it?
Well, and at the end of the season, it is defining, and I mean, it sets you up for playoffs. So are we a playoff team or are we not? That's going to be decided in the next 3 weeks. I'm glad we're finally here. I mean, it's time to strap it up. No more talking about things that don't matter. It's going to be blocking and tackling and getting after it these next 3 weeks.
I completely agree, Phil. One thing I wanted to ask you about from Saturday's game, and it's been, unfortunately for the Bison, a theme all season, the penalties. You talked about it on the broadcast, wanted to see penalties cleaned up. That was your impact stat. Unfortunately, they keep rearing their ugly head. It's been a theme through 8 games for this ball club. Is there any, in your playing experience, when you were on a team that might have dealt with a few too many penalties than anybody would have liked, what's the enforcement to take that away? I mean, you can say you play more discipline, but is there anything you could do in practice to address it? How do you clean that up at this point of the season? And as you referenced, too, you won't be able to afford those against the opponents that you have coming up here in this stretch.
Well, the coaches have to take ownership of it and say, we're not going to accept this anymore. And the players got to know that the coaches mean it. I don't know if that means sitting a guy or what, but I mean, one of the penalties was just for spouting off to the official. I mean, a 15-yarder. You can't have that. But it rears its ugly head, and it's going to make a difference if the game is going to be close. And I know South Dakota State's pretty penalized too, actually. But we need to do it to our advantage, like we'd always done in the past. Now it's like it doesn't matter. It just seems like it doesn't matter because it keeps happening, and we keep accepting it for happening. And some of them are just. I get a holding penalty once in a while. I get that, but some of these are just really, really unacceptable to me, anyway.
Mm-hmm. Self-inflicted for sure. We're talking about Phil Hansen.
But you know what? You win the game, and have 100 yards in 100 penalty yards.
Yeah,
I don't care if you can win the game. I'm just saying it's going to matter these next 3 games, and I don't know if it's going to be the deciding factor, but don't let it be the deciding factor. Take care of that before you get to the game and decide that you're not going to get a dumb penalty. Late hit on the quarterback, spouting off to an official, hitting somebody out of bounds. Just can't do it.
Another couple of things. One penalty was a targeting penalty in that game as well. Yep. Sam Young with that one. That would mean he is out for the first half of this game against SDSU. Starting safety for you at an area where you've seemed thin going into the year. Don't know if they've created more depth there or what the plan would be there. And then also Will Mostart goes down with an injury. You think he is very much doubtful for this game and maybe for a couple of games. We'll have to find out more from Matt Entz later today when he has his press conference. But if you're without those two, did you see any players that kind of stepped up? What would your game plan be there without 2 more guys on that defensive side?
Yeah, Sam Young. I mean, there's a penalty you can accept. I mean, hopefully you can appeal that. He can get back on the field. I didn't really know there was an appeal process.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if there's an appeal process and they overturn that, then why did you take him out of the game? So, but I had no clue there was an appeal process till it happened to Stan. But like I said, that was a penalty. That was just an aggressive penalty, and I didn't think there was much there. But he did get the targeting thing. So going back to your question, Will Mostert goes out. Yeah, it was an odd thing too, because I think he got a sack on that play, and he didn't really get hit. It didn't seem like to me. So, but yeah, that was an odd play. Did like what I saw with Price. Jaden Price was going on. They brought Jaquise Alexander in. They got more fast guys on the field in passing down, so I like that. I like Jaden Price I like him being closer to the ball. I'm sure they're doing it by default because they just don't know what else to do. But Jaden Price, a versatile guy. He's an old guy. He's been not old. I mean, veteran guy. He's been around for a while. He can play a lot of positions, and he's a playmaker. So I'm glad I hope that's the best fit they can have with the personnel they got. But I kind of like him on that slot guy. I like him in there. He can come and support the run, knows where to be and what to do.
I liked it too. I thought he's been physical all year in the run sport too.
Other side of it too is you get, obviously Wisniewski was back, but maybe Julian Wodarczyk comes back too. Another guy that's got some at least safety experience, and Oscar Benson's looked fine. There's a few options I would think at safety, and also on that defensive line. Clearly, a lot of guys that have played a lot of snaps at least.
Yeah, I mean, they've kind of haven't been terribly exposed in the passing game yet. That's because they haven't went up against good talent or haven't been able to stop the run against USD and UND. But this game, they could be exposed at multiple levels. But like I said, they've been experimenting. Hopefully, the younger guys. Remember, that was 3 weeks ago that they weren't comfortable with some of those younger guys. Now they have to get comfortable because of injury. But I didn't see any grave mistakes by some of those younger guys, and hopefully they get on the field and give them a small task to do, and hopefully they can do it, because you know what, we need you. That next guy up mentality. I mean, you got to be there for your team. You got to get her done.
Talking with Phil Hansen, the Hall of Famer, here with us on the Insiders. So let's talk about this week's game, Phil. It's SDSU, NDSU. The Bison have lost 4 in a row against the Jacks, including last year at Frisco. You talk about, stopping the run, and that was an issue against UND and USD. This team can run. They've got a stable of running backs. They've got an offensive line with a couple of guys who have NFL aspirations on the left side who are back for their 6th and final year of eligibility. That's been an issue in these 4 losses for the Bison against the Jacks. They've been outrushed in both the games, and they haven't been able to establish a run of their own. So my question to you is, how can the Bison flip the script on that? How can they win the line of scrimmage and find a way to scrap it out in the trenches to give themselves a chance against the Jacks?
I remember that game at Frisco. If I was a defensive lineman, what I'd be working on this week is I would get in a fit with an offensive lineman, not coming out of a stance. I would let the defensive lineman just stand there, and then I'd say, offensive lineman, you get the best grip you can on this defensive lineman, legal grip. I mean, right in, grab onto him as tight as you can, and then get down low in your stance, and then you come off either left or right, and you get off of that block. Because that's what I saw last year. Those guys couldn't get off blocks. Front 7 could not get off SDSU, and no flags came out. So that means maybe they're being held, but they're not calling holding. So you got to get off those blocks, or you got to get upfield and penetrate, one or the other. But what I saw mostly is you got to get away. You got to press that bench press. You got to push that guy away from you, that offensive lineman. And you got to shed him. That means get rid of him and go tackle a ball carrier. And you know what? When you get rid of that offensive lineman, you're going to have an Isaiah Davis coming at you. I mean, that's not going to be an easy guy to tackle. And, I've saw some evidence of guys being drugged by lesser runners than South Dakota State has. So it's going to be a tall task for the front 7 this week. We'll see if they're capable. I hope they are, because that'll be a big thing. Because, like I said, can't stop the run. I mean, they can pass at will because everybody's going to keep sucking up to stop the run a little more, and then they break a pass on you. So you got to make a team one-dimensional, one way or another. Usually that means stopping the run first and then getting after the passer.
And Phil Hansen here with us. Last one from me, Phil. I think this week is an interesting week because for the first time, I think it's different than any week we've had in the past decade plus. Because for the first time, I think this week, everyone's picking against NDSU. I don't think there's many people that think NDSU is going to be able to go down to Brookings, or as talented as that SDSU team is, with some of the results NDSU has had this year. You know, if you talk to the national reporters, if you talk to people even here in town, just go down there and hopefully you don't get embarrassed, or that team's just too good, not going to beat them. For the first time, that is going to be the talk around a game for NDSU, whether it's SDSU or anybody else. I'm sure at some point players are going to hear it, someone's going to hear it, right? How do they try and use that as some motivation? Because that's a weird spot. NDSU has not been in that spot as the heavy underdog in a game in quite some time.
Yeah, sure. I mean, you're the underdog. You're just like SDSU was for the last 8 years, typically until the last couple of years when they finally won. So we're reversing roles a little bit. But cool thing is that SDSU, they couldn't win in 16, 17, 18. Then they pulled one out, and now they're kind of on top. So you just reverse roles, but you got to be at the top of your game. Blocking and tackling are at an absolute premium, and all the things that come with it. It's going to be a cold game outside. NDSU isn't used to that. Hopefully they're practicing outside this week. But you should do some live tackling. You really should. To wrap up, it's different, tackling in cold weather like this. But getting off those blocks, you can't make a tackle until you get off a block. So both those things are going to be at a premium for the front seven, in my estimation. But that underdog role, that's always the better role to be coming from. South Dakota State, I think, will be picked and is supposed to win this game. Yeah, it's new to NDSU to be in that role, but it's a lot. You can play a lot freer because if you're supposed to lose anyway, well, that's the time you can come out and win a game. And I think NDSU, they've got the talent. They've got to be clicking on all cylinders, though, all of them. No penalties, no turnovers, tackling on the spot. You just no busts in the defense. Everything has got to be working well against a team like this. Just like I'm sure they were having the same conversation several years ago. We got to do everything right to play against North Dakota State.
We haven't seen the Bison's best game this season, Phil. This weekend would be a good time for it. We appreciate your time, Phil. Appreciate it as always, and enjoy the. You got another pheasant hunting trip before the weekend, right?
Yeah, sure do. The pheasants aren't quite as good down by Oaks and Lisbon area, but we're gonna try another pheasant hunt this weekend, and hopefully we'll get some more birds. But hopefully the wind won't be blowing as bad as it is today.
Any rabbit hunting?
Yeah, no rabbits.
Okay.
But we don't see many deer down there either. The last winter really took a toll on the wildlife down in southeastern North Dakota. And pheasants, deer, everything is way down. So hopefully those populations can get back to a little more manageable level.
I'm learning more and more every week, Phil, about hunting, farming, all of it, and I appreciate
Phil's got you a couple of times.
Yeah.
He's got you on the sugar beets.
Sam, you don't get to come to North Dakota and just know about football. I know you know about football. You've proven that time and time again. We're going to teach you about sugar beets and hunting and farming. And some of those commercials you read, you don't have a clue about what you're saying. We're going to pull you up a little bit. We'll get you there, buddy. Just hold on.
I know, Phil. It's going to take, again, like I said, it's a process, long term. Give me a couple years. By year 3 or so, we'll be in full rhythm. That's what it's going to be. But we appreciate it, Phil. We'll see you on Saturday, okay? Have a great week.
All righty. Very good. Bye.
Bye-bye. Phil Hansen, the Hall of Famer.
You got to give you 3 years on that stuff?
Give it a couple years. It's going to be a couple years to learn New York, Long Island. Like by the end, I felt
logo. Okay.
Good. Yeah, I'll be a North Dakotan fully versed here in a couple years.
You're driving a combine in 3 years.
That's
different level
stretch. Yeah, I can talk it. I don't know be able to walk it in that sense. Oh man, Phil Hansen, 33 years of counting. He's brought to us each week by CI Sport. 33 years of counting. CI Sport, #1 in corporate, resort, collegiate, and high school apparel. Whether for work or play, every day is game day at CI Sport. CI Sport offers competitive pricing and fast turnaround times so you can work harder, play harder, and cheer harder in style. Online at cisport.com.
Guess what? I'm already halfway through.
You're halfway through that.
Jersey
Chipotle
Mike's sub.
cheesesteak.
There you go. Jersey Mike's subs. Mondays always taste better for us because it's a Jersey Mike's sub Monday. I went the Chipotle cheesesteak this time. I've done the Chipotle chicken cheesesteak before. I have not done the regular Chipotle cheesesteak, and it's going to go right up there with Mike's Famous Philly. It's up there. I'm probably I've now realized this about myself. I'm a hot sub over cold sub, just slightly guy most days. Maybe it's because the weather outside's cold and I want a hotter sub, but the warm kind of cheesesteak type of subs have been the way I've been going lately. You are going the opposite, though. You went club sub again.
I went club sub. Now, this is a very hearty sub. It's got the bacon, it's got the ham, it's got all the meats that you want. Mm-hmm. It's terrific. Yeah, this number 8 club sub from Jersey Mike's. I'm not halfway through yet. I've been pacing myself. I'm like literally 2 bites in. So I'm going to get to work on it here in the next break. Ian, you got the club sub?
Yep. I've been getting after it. It's a sad day because Kirk Cousins hurt. So I've
emotional eating?
Eating my pain away,
Emotional eating.
I need it today.
Right there with you.
I know what you're feeling.
Jersey Mike's a sub above. That's one measured in more than inches or seconds till served. It's proud to be a Bison football supporter from Jersey Mike's Subs with locations in Fargo and West Fargo. Jersey Mike's wants to make your day better, one authentic Jersey-style sub at a time, even if your quarterback tears his Achilles. Make your day a little bit better.
Thank you, Jersey Mike's.
Thank you, Jersey
Thank
Mike's.
you for consoling us here on this Monday. The 2 Viking fans in the room, helping them out a little bit.
Go Jaron Hall, the future Hall of Famer.
Jaron Hall. We're going to, when we come back, a couple thoughts on that Viking situation. Our poll question up. What should the Vikings do at quarterback with Kirk Cousins out? You've been answering. We'll get to some of those to wrap up this first hour. And Will Ragatz from SI.com covering the Vikes at noon. That's next. You're on the Insiders.
Champions, play here. Your home for the Thundering Herd. Bison 1660.
Celebrate 60 electrifying years with Rick Electric, the oldest and largest family-owned electrical contractor in the Fargo-Moorhead area. For 60 incredible years, Rick Electric has enhanced the lives of countless customers, providing safety, reliability, and innovation. They're charging ahead with a commitment to excellent customer service. Go to rickelectric.com or call them at 233-6194 to experience 60 years of excellence.
For over 40 years, Jiffy Lube of Fargo has been making life easy. No appointment is ever needed. Drive up, pull in, and get the signature service oil change from your Jiffy Lube certified technician. Plus, they'll top off fluids, vacuum the floors, wash the windows, inflate your tires to proper pressure, and get you back on the road. Jiffy Lube of Fargo also performs a courtesy inspection of your vehicle's filters, wiper blades, and all exterior lights to get your vehicle in tip-top shape. 3 locally owned and operated locations in the area. Jiffy Lube of Fargo, where you can do more in a jiffy.
The leaves may be falling, but now is the best time to order your new boat lift for next summer with huge savings. Take advantage of the biggest savings of the year on Flow boat lifts. Purchase a new Flow lift before October 31st and receive a free canopy fabric valued up to $5,100. That's right, upgrade your old lift now and receive a free canopy. Lakewood is the area's #1 Flow dealer for the best selection. With 2 great locations, Highway 10 just east of Detroit Lakes or Lakeland General Store just south of DL on Highway 59, Dunvilla.
Hi there, it's Chris Kotzik, owner of Summit Insurance. If you're a business owner, you know how important it is to have the right insurance coverage. But how do you know which policy is best for your business? That's where an independent insurance agent can help. At Summit Insurance, we work with multiple carriers to find the best coverage options for your business needs. From liability coverage to property insurance and everything in between, we've got you covered. When you work with Summit Insurance, you'll have a dedicated partner every step of the way. Contact us today at summitinsurance.net. That's summitinsurance.net.
At Dakota Underground, they value family and teamwork. And for over 40 years, they've remained at the top of the industry. This wouldn't be possible without the dedicated employees who are considered to be family. Like the Bison, Dakota Underground is proud of their accomplishments and know that their success comes from working with the best of the best and settling for nothing less than superior work and service. Dakota Underground, proud member of this community for 4 decades and proud member of Bison Nation. To see open positions or previous projects, visit dakotaunderground.net.
In a world full of doing, it's time to undo. Jacuzzi allows you to transform your backyard into your own private oasis, where all you'll be doing is relaxing. At Jacuzzi Hot Tubs of Fargo, their staff is knowledgeable with personalized service. Oh, and you'll be able to sink into the full experience and try them for yourself to find out what you really want. Owning a jacuzzi is easier than ever before with our financing options. Stop by today and experience the jacuzzi difference, or go online at jacuzzihottubsoffargo.com.
The place you go for all your Bison news first. You've got the Insiders right here on Bison 1660.
Alrighty, back at it here on the Insiders, 11 a.m. hour of the show on a Monday, brought to you by Rick Electric. Rick Electric has been serving the Fargo community for over 60 years, providing excellent electrical service for both commercial and residential electrical needs. Find out what they can do for you online at rickelectric.com. We're going to have Will Ragatz from SI.com talking Vikings here at the top of the noon hour. We put our poll question out for you earlier in the show. What should the Vikings do at quarterback with Kirk Cousins out? Sign a free agent, trade for a veteran, roll with Jaron Hall. A couple of our answers that have come on Facebook. Larry on Facebook says, roll with Hall. This is an opportunity to see if he's the QB of the future. He'd have good receivers, decent offensive line, and he knows the offense. Jeff echoes the same sentiment. Roll with Jaron Hall, see what you have in him. If they don't think Mullins can return, then sign somebody like Wentz to back up. Matt says give Carson Wentz a try if we can sign him for the minimum salary. Scott says Jaron Hall gets Stick for a backup. Talking about Easton Stick. A lot of NDSU angled answers here.
Because one of the things I thought about, immediately following the game, thinking about, okay, so what do you do here? Do you just roll with Hall? And just trying to think through it myself with some friends. It's basically impossible to happen now, but this would be the absolute 100% perfect, ideal, to a T situation for Trey Lance.
Yep.
I mean, could you ask for, you got Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, you got a line that's fine in front of you. You have a team that's built to at least get to the playoffs. Like, you got some talent around you, and you got half the year. Like, let's just say hypothetically you had Trey Lance and Nick Mullins. Like, yeah, Nick Mullins can win you some games, but the ceiling is higher with Trey Lance. You'd put him in there and say, just go, let's see what you got. And we're going to let you go for this whole half of the season. Don't worry about if you play bad, we're going to take you out. Just don't have those worries at all. Don't have anybody sitting behind you. This is your team. This is your chance. You have half a season to go prove it. Go prove it. Like, this would be so perfect for Trey Lance. The ideal scenario, right? It'd be better if it was a whole season, right? But you have however many weeks are left. They've played, 6 weeks or 8 weeks now? So you've got basically 10 weeks to prove, like, are you a starting quarterback in this league with talent around you? Go do it. It would be just so good for him. Easton Stick is a name I thought about, too. Like, yeah, it'd be great to trade for Easton. The Chargers aren't going to do that because if they trade away Easton, they've got nobody behind Justin Herbert. There's nobody else, so you just can't.
We saw a few people getting Trey a shout-out on Twitter. One of my favorite answers on Facebook came from Brandon Wolf, just the way that he wrote it and the way I read it. Tom Brady. Tom Brady with
people are saying Pro Football Focus or whatever. Hey, call Tom.
Yeah. Will Ragatz.
Call Tom or Phillip Rivers.
Will Ragatz is next. Talking Vikes here at hour number 2.
Prices on many ag chem inputs have never been cheaper. I'm Darren Hefty with Hefty Seed Company. If you're considering making herbicide applications this fall or want to stock up for next season, now is the time. Buying at all-time lows is usually a pretty safe investment, and low prices mean more options for effective control of weeds, insects, and diseases. In fact, it's likely you can get better products now with more modes of action at higher rates for less than what you paid this past spring. To learn more, visit with your local Hefty agronomist today.
Do you need to stock up on all your favorites for watching Bison football this season? Well, the Spirit Shop has you covered with a great selection of beer, wine, and spirits at the best prices, plus great weekly specials. The Spirit Shop off 13th Avenue in Fargo behind Shields Home and Hardware.
Most people see the road as a piece of pavement that takes them from here to there. At E.W. Wiley, we see the road as an opportunity that can take your company from where it's at to where you want it to be. E.W. Wiley has been a leader in the trucking industry for over 85 years. We've been trusted by everyone from small companies to Fortune 500s to go the extra mile. We're driven by experience and fueled by client success. So, let's see where the road can take your business. E.W. Wiley, online at wileytrucking.com.
These days, we're all looking for ways to save some cash. Have you looked at your insurance? Talk to your Nodak Insurance Company agent because the more you insure with Nodak Insurance, the lower your premiums. Work with one local agent to package your home, autos, or excess liability, everything you care about. Then watch the savings add up. Ask your Nodak Insurance agent how you can save with a multi-line discount. Nodak Insurance Company, agents with answers.
Sun Butter is the maker of delicious sunflower butters the whole family can enjoy. It's free of the top 8 food allergens, including peanuts, tree nuts, soy, and dairy. Grown in the tri-state area and produced locally at Red River Commodities in Fargo. Sun Butter, simple ingredients, delicious flavor.
Build your career at Bobcat. Bobcat Gwinner is now hiring assemblers, material handlers, and welders, offering a $5,000 relocation bonus. Bobcat Wahpeton is now hiring assemblers and CNC machinists. CNC machinists will receive a $2,000 sign-on bonus, $5,000 relocation bonus to those who qualify, and on-the-job training. Apply in person or online at bobcat.com/nowhiring. That's bobcat.com/nowhiring. Bobcat is an equal opportunity employer. Truck headquarters. Gateway Chevrolet has new Chevy trucks arriving daily. Buy your new Chevy Silverado at Invoice. Yes, Invoice pricing on new Silverados with a fresh look, new interiors, and larger screens with easy-to-use technology. Save thousands on new Chevy Silverados with 4 different motors available. Dynamic fuel management, Bluetooth, backup camera, Apple CarPlay, and more. Save thousands and enjoy the smooth ride in your new Chevy Silverado from Gateway Chevrolet. Find new roads. Details gatewayfargo.com.
KQWB, West Fargo, Fargo-Moorhead, and KPFX, HD3 Kindred, Bison 1660. Powered by Gateway Chevrolet, Cadillac, Nissan, and Hyundai in Fargo.
And here's what you need to know.
News in the NFL, reports saying Giants quarterback Daniel Jones has been cleared for contact and is on track to return next weekend as they face the Raiders. ESPN reports the Titans are expected to stick with Will Levis at quarterback. They're playing Thursday night against the Steelers. Reports say Falcons Pro Bowl defensive tackle Grady Jarrett suffered a torn ACL in yesterday's loss to the Titans. Reports also saying Patriots receiver Kendrick Bourne tore his ACL in their loss to the Dolphins. NFL media says Jets center Connor McGovern has a dislocated kneecap. The report says he is seeking a second opinion to see if he needs surgery. He's currently considered week to week. Packers and linebacker Rashawn Gary have agreed to a 4-year extension worth just over $107 million. And Cooper Flagg, the top high school basketball prospect and the projected number 1 pick in the 2025 NBA draft, announced his commitment to play at Duke next year. I'm Nick Cope.
Bison Park, everything we do. This one's for you, Corso, wherever you are. Give me that Bison.
This is the Insiders on Bison 1660, covering the world of NDSU sports like no other.
North Dakota State advances to the round of 32. Touchdown, Bison!
The Insiders are presented by Proseed. Need seed? Thank Proseed. Welcome to your Green and Gold HQ for the Bison. The Insiders on Bison 1660 starts now.
Here we go, hour number 2 of the program on a beautiful Monday, because it's a victory Monday for NDSU. Getting you set. Dakota Marker Week is here. Bison taking on SDSU on Saturday. All of our game week coverage this week on 1660 is presented by The Bridges. The Bridges, located at 1601 University Drive North, right across from NDSU. Online, bridgesnd.com. Whether you're a student or a parent of one, find the perfect living space that has a controlled access, fun environment, affordable prices, and steps from buses to all local colleges. Sign a lease now for fall 2024. Get all-inclusive pricing, fully furnished units, a prime location, and one of the lowest deposits in town. It's The Bridges. Once again, tour The Bridges near NDSU today, 1601 University Drive North, or online, bridgesnd.com.
Let's jump on over to the Epic Companies hotline here. Talk about the big story from yesterday, and that would be the torn Achilles of one Kirk Cousins. You said a bittersweet symphony. You beat the Packers in Lambeau. You win 3 in a row. You're back to 500, but also the quarterback is done for the season. To talk more about that, from SI.com with us now on the Epic Companies hotline, Will Ragatz. Nice enough to give us some time. Will, great to have you on, sir. How was the trip back from Lambeau yesterday? I would assume it was very much like the Vikings team playing, where you're happy but just can't really be overly happy.
Yeah, it was a weird vibe for sure. They win, like you said, they win 3 in a row, and it seems like everything was starting to click for this team. I mean, the offensive line is playing well. The defense has played well in all 3 of these wins. You've got, even without Justin Jefferson, they had KJ Osborne, TJ Hawkinson, Jordan Addison all go over 80 receiving yards yesterday. And Kirk Cousins was playing some of the best football of his career. And then just like that, it's over. And then there's a lot more questions than answers right now about where this team goes moving forward. So it was a strange feeling for sure in the locker room, and just I think everybody who cheers for the Vikings felt pretty conflicted yesterday. It didn't really feel like a win.
Yeah, it felt like Vikings fans feel. We just can't have nice things. Even when we win, we still find a way to lose, and that was the way you ended up losing really yesterday is because you lost Kirk for the entire season. What is more likely, in your opinion? Jaren Hall is great, or Jaren Hall is bad, and this team's picking in the top 10? Or is it Jaren Hall is going to be okay, and you finish with 10 or 9 wins?
Yeah, I think probably somewhere in the middle. I don't think Jaren Hall is going to come in and light it up based on what I saw from him in the preseason. I mean, there were some flashes there, but he still looked like a guy who was really raw, kind of a project, a developmental guy. But, I mean, he showed enough flashes. He had prolific numbers at BYU, and it's been long enough since the preseason that you'd like to think maybe he's taken some steps forward, and at least on the mental side. And, coaches have credited how well he's played in preparing the defense by playing quarterback on the scout team. So I don't think he'll be horrible either. I think it's probably somewhere in the middle, but I would lean towards it's not great if you're thinking about the Vikings getting back to the playoffs. I think it's more likely they end up picking in the top 10 than becoming some kind of true contender with Jaren Hall.
Talking with Will Ragatz here about the Vikings, covers them for SI.com. Will, Sam Niederman here. Nice to have you on the show. That was shocking yesterday, and it's just the worst timing possible for Kirk to get hurt. He was putting together an MVP-like season, looked like an all-pro against San Fran. I mean, do you see any inkling of a possibility of the Vikings doing something else other than Jaren Hall here, final day of the trade deadline, or going to somebody who's on the market as a free agent there at the quarterback position?
Yeah, it's possible. I think they're going to explore all their options. Kevin O'Connell said after the game that he wasn't going to commit to Jaren Hall moving forward. I think a big reason for that is they have Nick Mullins, who's their backup. He's on injured reserve with a back injury, eligible to come off after this game against the Falcons. I don't know exactly if he'll be ready at that point, but he could be back fairly soon, and I think he's a higher floor option if the focus is on winning games this year. He started 17 games in the past. Then again, I don't know if that should be the focus. Should you just go with Jaren Hall, even if Mullins is healthy, to figure out what you have with the rookie? And if it doesn't go well, then at least that improves your draft positioning. There is always the possibility, too, that they'll have to add a quarterback of some sort while Mullins is still hurt. Right now, it's just Jaren Hall, and then they have Sean Mannion on the practice squad. So I don't know if they're going to add – if that could be like a Colt McCoy, who they worked out recently and who has familiarity with O'Connell from their time together in Washington. I don't necessarily see them making some big, bold move. Like I've seen people float, they should trade for Ryan Tannehill or they should trade for Kyler Murray. Or I don't really see something like that happening. There's contract logistics and all those things, but I could see them signing a Colt McCoy or trying to. What if they trade for Case Keenum and bring him back? He's the third-string quarterback in Houston, or just some sort of veteran backup who gives you an option in case Hall really isn't getting it done.
I would love the Case Keenum one, right? And we were talking about that in the first segment of our show today. Like it seems like doom and gloom, but Teddy Bridgewater went down with an injury, and you're able to find Sam Bradford. Bradford goes on with an injury, able to use Case Keenum to get all the way to an NFC championship game. So the Vikings have done it before, even with some injuries at the quarterback position, and they have a lot of the other pieces around whoever the quarterback is that will be fun to watch what happens here. A name around this part of the woods gets brought up a lot, obviously, here in Fargo, covering NDSU. People immediately said, get Carson Wentz on the phone. Find him. You mentioned Colt McCoy. I said already I think Colt McCoy is more likely than Carson Wentz in terms of a guy who's on the streets right now and signing him. But what would you put any possibility of a guy like Carson Wentz?
Yeah, when you started that build-up, I wasn't sure if you were going to say Wentz or Trey Lance. But not,
trust me, that was the next question I was going to throw your way.
I doubt Trey Lance gets traded twice in 1 year, but I don't know. I mean, you really can't rule anything out here. I think the Vikings are going to look at all their options, and it's a really tight turnaround for Kwesi Adofo-Mensah with the trade deadline being Tuesday afternoon. But, yeah, Carson Wentz is another one. I think if you just look at free agents, like Colt McCoy to me makes a lot of sense because of the familiarity with O'Connell and because he just worked out for the Vikings earlier this month. But Carson Wentz is probably a better player. I mean, he's younger. He's had more recent success in the NFL. I think if you look at free agents, unless you're trying to lure Matt Ryan out of retirement or something, I think Carson Wentz is probably the best option. But does he fit what the Vikings want to do offensively, their scheme? Does it make sense for them to bring him in and try to go for this thing instead of taking a look at Jaren Hall? I don't know. I'm not envious of being in Kwesi Dafo-Mensah's position, because the most important thing is to build for 2024 in the long term. But you don't just want to give up on this season either. I mean, they're 4-4. They're in a playoff spot. The defense is playing really well, like I said. The offensive line, that's what stinks about the timing of this Cousins injury is just it seemed like all the pieces were starting to come together. When you beat a team like the 49ers and then you beat the Packers by 2 scores, with the schedule this team has, it looked like they were about to go on a run maybe. But you could still win games, I think, with this Brian Flores defense and this offensive line and these weapons. So finding somebody who can give you that solid quarterback play, this season doesn't have to suddenly be over.
Will, was that it for Kirk as a Viking? We were talking about it in the first hour of our show. Is that it for Kirk, given the age and the contract, or do you see anything wacky happening there in terms of his future here in Minnesota?
Well, yeah, I had that thought right after I saw the replay where it looked like his Achilles. I'm like, that might be the last pass Kirk Cousins ever throws in a Vikings uniform, because he's not under contract beyond this year. But it's complicated, I think, because of this injury situation. He's never been hurt before. I mean, he's just been one of the most durable quarterbacks, players, period, in the league for a really long time. Now he's dealing with his first major injury. What does that do to his market next year? I mean, a lot of teams are going to look at the way he played this year, and I think they'd be really interested. But with coming off Achilles, I don't know how that changes things. Maybe there's a possibility that the Vikings bring him back on a deal that they wouldn't have been able to get if he hadn't gotten injured. I don't know. I think the Vikings will still, more likely than not, move on and try to find that next guy, because Kirk is going to be 36, and at some point you have to start planning for the future. But what happens if they find some quarterback who wins them enough games this year, and then they're not picking really high, and it's not that easy to trade up for somebody like a Drake May? So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens the rest of the way, and then what those conversations look like next spring.
Yeah, I mean, we mentioned the same thing. I said usually one or two things happen from this point. Either Jaren Hall turns out to be the next Brock Purdy and a lot better than you think, and you're like, well, he's our guy going forward, so we're going to move off of Kirk because you're not going to sign a backup quarterback for $20-something million. Or Jaren Hall is really, really bad, and you're picking in the top 10, and again, you're probably going to move on from Kirk. But the one in the middle, which the middle option usually is the Vikings option, right? The mediocrity, you're finishing somewhere in the middle, and then, you're not high enough for a quarterback. That's one of the top guys, maybe a developmental guy, and you also didn't go far enough to make you think Jaren Hall has it either. So there is a possibility there that Kirk, I guess, could come back on maybe a reduced deal for another year or two, even though he will be 36 coming off his first major injury. Let's touch on some of the other pieces here briefly, because like we've said, this team, they were rounding into form, which is what makes it so frustrating right now. You do have a defense that seems to be getting better each and every week. What have they been doing that's made them play better? And because of their improved play, if this continues, do you think Brian Flores is even here next season?
That's another good question that's part of the whole discussion and equation around this team and its future. I've been so impressed by Brian Flores and what he's done with this defense. And you look at, they subtracted more talent than they added from one of the worst defenses in the league last year. They lost Patrick Peterson, Dalvin Tomlinson, Zadarius Smith, Eric Kendricks, all these guys. They brought in a few players, but Marcus Davenport's barely played. I don't think Byron Murphy Jr. has been all that great. It's been Brian Flores getting the most out of the pieces that were here and coming up with really good game plans week in and week out. And it took a little bit of time. The Vikings got gashed on the ground against the Eagles. They got gashed through the air against the Chargers, but those are really good offenses. And I think Flores was still in the process of figuring out what he had and what the best way to deploy all of his pieces was. And we've seen that the last few games. They didn't force 3 turnovers against the Packers like they did against the Bears and 49ers, but another really good game plan. It helped that the Packers' offense seemed to just be abysmal, but Daniil Hunter leads the league in sacks, and Josh Metellus is having this huge breakout year as the third safety under Flores, and just a bunch of different guys on this team playing really well. So if this does continue, and there's reason to believe, looking at this schedule, that the Vikings, at the very least, can be in a lot of games, regardless of who's at quarterback, even if it is Jaron Hall. There may be a chance that Brian Flores' one season is so good at defensive coordinator that he might not be back for another one.
Yeah, the way that defense is playing, it is looking that way. And then what's been up with the improved play? All of a sudden, the quick turn for Ed Ingram from like bad to like a turnstile to now all of a sudden I haven't noticed him in 3 games and he's been really good. Was it just they brought in Dalton Reisner as competition? Like what clicked there, do you think?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think the Vikings really tried to keep faith in him after a really rough rookie season, and they knew that he had the physical tools. They wanted a guy who could be athletic enough to run block in the zone schemes and things like that, but also be strong enough to anchor in pass protection. And I think there was a lot of things he needed to work on after his rookie year, but mostly from a technical standpoint, technique, and just fundamentals and things like that. And it was off to another slow start this year that had you thinking maybe it just wasn't going to work. And to his credit, over the last few games, he definitely has improved. I still want to see more before I just declare that he's all the way back to being a quality guard or even a solid guard, but it's been a step in the right direction in recent weeks. And I think bringing in Dalton Reisner has just kind of helped that whole offensive line go to the next level a little bit.
I completely agree. Again, Will Ragatz was joining us here, talking some Minnesota Vikings. Does great work there with Fan Nation, SI.com, and also contributes to our good friend Matthew Collar there with Purple Insider. Will, appreciate the time today. Looking forward to watching Jaron Hall throw for 275, 3 touchdowns, and a rushing touchdown against the Atlanta Falcons, and we all dub him the next great Hall of Famer. Looking forward to it. Thanks for the time.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you, Will.
You're speaking into existence, okay, Sam? I'm going to believe.
Only positivity. I will say this. You will like this. So I had Jaron Hall last season. I had BYU Oregon. I did that game with Ryan Leaf.
Mm-hmm.
We had Ryan Leaf on a few weeks back. Ryan Leaf, I remember vividly, verbatim, because Jaron Hall made an incredible throw in that game. He made far hash to the near sideline, incredible throw on a rope, 15-yard pickup on like 3rd and 8 with Autzen Stadium blaring and everything. I remember Ryan saying right after that throw, he was like, Jaron Hall, that's an NFL type of throw. That's like an Aaron Rodgers. This guy can ball. He's like, I like Jaron Hall. So had Ryan Leaf's stamp of approval. He's flashed it. As Will mentioned, he flashed it at BYU. And he's 25 years old. He's a grown man. Married man.
Will didn't completely shut down the Carson Wentz thing either. I mean, he's best guy on the market, maybe better than Colt McCoy.
If that happened, that would be like
bonkers, yeah.
Bonkers is a perfect word. Like everything would be blowing up.
Mm-hmm.
That would be bonkers. It would be completely out of the blue, kind of laying in the weeds. Yeah. I would
love it.
Oh, I think everybody here would love it.
I think Colt McCoy is more likely, just because of his time with Kevin O'Connell in Washington, familiarity. Because the thing is, with Carson Wentz, you bring him in, and then you got to get up to speed on the thing. You can't just say,
it's just
not like when you trade for a
Cam
running
Akers.
back.
Yeah, he wasn't even in there for the first week or so.
But like a running back would be like, hey, this play we're going to turn around, hand it off to you, run to the left behind this. Like you can kind of fake your way through some of it.
You got to know
can't
it all
at quarterback.
Yeah.
You just can't. So it would take him a little time to get up to speed, which is why I think Colt McCoy is more likely.
Yeah.
The nice thing, though, is Kirk Cousins is the type of quarterback, he's going to go through surgery here. He's going to help Jaron Hall. He's going to help whoever they bring in, too. He's not going to be afraid about, someone's taking my spot or something like that. He will be a good mentor and a good leader and a help to whoever is the quarterback.
I think so, too, and it was great to see positive attitude by Kirk. Just see him clapping on the bench even after. I mean,
he saw a big play happen. He started clapping for him. He knew at that point it was done.
Right. You got to be mentally tough. I mean, he's just been a class act through and through. I mean, everybody in America kind of jumped on the Kirk bandwagon if you weren't already by seeing the quarterback documentary. He's awesome. So
everything
wish
was
him the best.
Coming together. The perfect time. Until that happened. Yeah. Ugh. The curse, man.
I'm saying, man, karma's banking up. You guys are going to win like 5 Super Bowls in a row at this point.
We better.
I hope, for your sake. I hope. Andy and
hopefully
Ian
match
are
up with the Colts in a
Vikings
couple
fans
of
here.
those.
Hey, Anthony can do it, man. That's right. We're
Beat him
doing
back.
a long game here. We're doing a long game. Close one against the Saints yesterday. Just came up a little bit short. We got more to do here on the Insiders. 11 a.m. hours, we'd like to remind you, was brought to you by Rick Electric. Rick Electric, serving the Fargo community for over 60 years, providing excellent electrical services for both commercial and residential electrical needs. Find out what they can do for you online at rickelectric.com. When we come back, big day in the FCS. Lots of big results. Bison have SDSU this week. We talked with Phil a little bit. Got some thoughts on that as we react to that conversation. And a little hefty seed stat of the day.
It's a doozy.
It's a doozy.
It's a doozy.
You won't want to miss it, so stick with us. It's on the other side of this break.
Champions play here.
You're vice president material. You're vice president material.
Bison 1660.
The Proceed Right Choice program, where every seed is a step towards your dream rewards. Buy your favorite high-yielding Proceed varieties and watch your rewards grow. With Proceed, you not only get top-notch seeds, but you also get a chance to earn incredible rewards towards Delta Vacations, firearms, Shields gift cards, and personal co-branded apparel with your farm name, a symbol of your success. Visit Proceed.net to learn more about the Right Choice program today.
Just like the Bison are good at football, TNT Seamless Gutters are good at seamless gutters, soffit, and fascia repairs. The team at TNT Seamless Gutters have over 40 years of experience. And just like the Bison, they'll travel anywhere to give you a free quote. You can call Todd direct at 701-566-2550 or follow TNT Seamless Gutters on Facebook. If your gutter shows signs of water damage, then you need to call Todd at TNT Seamless Gutters, 701-566-2550.
Hey, Bison Nation, it's Sam Niederman with this week's Road to the Ring, presented by Schmidt's Gems and Fine Jewelry. NDSU picked up its second straight win with a 38-6 victory against Murray State. And how about the quarterback, Cam Miller? He was the key with 4 total touchdowns on the day. The Bison dominated. They improved to 6-2 on the season, setting up a huge matchup against number 1 South Dakota State. It's a chance for the green and gold to avenge last season's defeat down in Frisco against the Jacks and take back the Dakota marker. Saturday's meeting, it'll be the 115th all-time against SDSU as the Bison look to snap a 4-game skid against the Jackrabbits. Schmidt's Gems and Fine Jewelry has a long history and reputation for quality, workmanship, and rock-solid pricing. Whether diamond engagement rings, custom jewelry, or repairs, let Brenda and the team at Schmidt's Gems and Fine Jewelry create a legacy for your family.
Are you ready to join a team where longevity and opportunity flourish? Look no further than Cardinal IG in Fargo. Their growing team has helped shape and lead the glass industry over the years. This October, Cardinal IG would like to shine the spotlight on Alakir Akot, Hawa Afian, Jumatano Hakizimana, Che Kahari, Osmatula Zazai, Undu Adakibe, and Adelaide Nandeweo, who are all celebrating their first year. Experience a workplace where your career can truly thrive and grow. Cardinal IG values their employees and invest in their future. Apply today at cardinalfargo.com.
Here's your Red River Valley weather update on Bison 1660.
Monday in the Fargo-Moorhead area is going to be partly sunny and cold as high temperatures are going to near just 33 degrees. Wind gusts from the south can get as high as 23 miles an hour. Heading into Monday night, there's a 20% chance of snow before 1 a.m. as low temperatures drop to around 17 degrees. Wind gusts can get as high as 37 miles an hour.
This weather update brought to you by Brady's Service Center. Brady's Service Center has snacks, chips, and beverages to get you on the road fast. They're your one-stop shop for all your automotive and road trip needs in Moorhead.
Gearing up for another season of Bison football? We've got you covered each and every day on the Insiders on Bison 1660.
I feel glorious.
I do feel glorious today, partly because I'm enjoying this Jersey Mike's lunch. Jersey Mike's, a sub above, one that's measured in more than inches or seconds till it's served. Jersey Mike's proud to be a supporter of Bison football with locations in Fargo and West Fargo. Jersey Mike's wants to make your day better, one authentic Jersey-style sub at a time.
You know what I like about Jersey Mike's subs is the ingredients. Last week I had that Cane Crow special. I had the premium top rounds as well.
Did we ever figure out what those were, by the way?
I haven't quite yet. The produce they have the highest quality, the best sliced meats and cheeses. It's extra cheesy. The cheesesteak, it's like there's cheese in there. You know there's cheese in there. It's good. Got the Chipotle mayo on this one I have today as well. Very authentic. Plus, the ones like you guys have, those more cold subs, you get them Mike's way, add all the vinegar, different stuff on it. Oh, phenomenal.
Yeah, it's wonderful. This club sub has the mayo and the Mike's way. It is absolutely delicious. Absolutely delicious.
Have we figured out when I'm getting my brownie?
I thought about that today.
Oh, that's
when
right.
I got it the first time. I went and picked up the subs.
I'm due.
You are due.
Yeah.
Maybe due for a couple of them now. I'm a week late on this one, so I'll put a reminder in the old phone to go pick up a couple of them.
By the way, bets of the week, plus Kansas +9 right over here, boys.
Well done.
Got it done. Jayhawks upset the Sooners.
You guys remember my NFL one from last week?
I'm honestly blanking.
I took a bad beat. I want to turn your microphone on first, Ian, before you talk. There you go. Good stuff. Remember, I had Ravens over Cardinals because
that's right.
Lamar Jackson's great against the NFC. Well, they won, but it was a 9.5-point spread. When they missed the 2-point conversion, the Cardinals missed a 2-point conversion. It stayed at 10 points. I'm like, perfect. Missed a 2-point conversion. We're good. Won by more than 9.5. Hit on the bet of the week.
Wow.
And then Nelson Aguilar, what are you doing? Catch the ball on the onside kick. What in the world was that? And then the onside kick's recovered by the Cardinals. They kick a field goal, and they only lose by 7.
Wow.
Ouch.
Wow.
Bad beat.
Those big
big
spreads, man. They get you on the end. That's why they're tough to bet.
Well, my NFL one, I had the Broncos. I had the Chiefs and Broncos. Chiefs get picked off. They get picked off 24-9.
Oh, didn't score a touchdown.
No.
That's got to be the first time in Patrick Mahomes' era they haven't scored a touchdown.
Yeah, he threw 2 picks and bad weather in there, and then Russ had a good game for Denver. So
cooking up a storm.
Yeah, let Russ cook. He got sacked 6 times. Chiefs D did their end of the deal for the most part, but yeah, tough one for Kansas City there.
Means they're falling back to the pack. The Chargers won yesterday.
Yeah,
got a
Sunday
big win,
night.
dominated the Bears, which
I did not watch it. I did not watch a second of that game.
Oh,
the Sunday night game.
Not a great game overall. Tyson Bagent just playing from behind. He's different than playing from
Todd Bagel, baby.
Yep. So Justin Herbert looked
that.
great. They've got some decent receivers, and now they're trending maybe in that right direction. Hopefully.
Another NFL game that was fairly ugly, though, it has our hefty seed stat of the day. What you got there?
There was a lot of ugly football.
Ugly. We'll get to that time of the year in the NFL where the defense starts figuring you out, the weather gets a little more mucky, and then,
November is just a rather ugly month usually because it's more defensive and you start getting those colder weather games a little bit. But the Giants-Jets game was extra ugly. 13-10 in overtime. According to the ESPN analytics, the New York Giants had a 99.9% chance to win with 1:19 left in the fourth quarter with the ball on the Jets' own 20 in Sunday's game against the Jets. And then the Giants are going to lose 13-10. That alone is a hefty seed stat of the day, 99.9% of the time. But also, I don't really know how much I believe in some of those analytic stuff. With the win probability, it's too varied.
I like the win probability. I don't like the ESPN FPI because I think that's always off.
But the chances of making the playoffs, like 2 weeks ago, the Vikings had like a 3% chance to make the playoffs, and they beat the Niners, and it was like, 23% chance. Like, how did it jump 20% in a game? It just feels like a little bit too unstable week to week, in my opinion.
Like some FCS top 25s, I think.
Possibly. That could also be the case. But so because of that, the stat of the day from the same game, which is just unreal. Tyrod Taylor, 4 of 7 for 8 yards, and their backup quarterback as well that came in once Tyrod Taylor got hurt. DeVito threw for -1 yards. Plus, there were some other passes in that game that did nothing. The New York Giants finished the game with -9 passing yards. -9
and they almost won. They should have
passing
won.
yards.
Yeah.
That's the other side to it, is they had negative passing yards, and they had a 99% chance to win the game still. Ugly, ugly, ugly.
Yeah, that was ugly.
FTC stat of the day.
Oh, my Lord. Yeah, that...
-9 passing yards.
That's got to be like an NFL record almost.
I'd hope so.
Yeah. -9.
203 rushing yards for the Giants in that game. Just doing anything they can with Saquon Barkley.
Yeah. In the bad weather, too. I saw Morstead, the punter for the Jets. They put out, Morstead highlights.
Yeah.
He was like the MVP of the game for the Jets.
Yeah, they weren't very good either. 193
brutal.
passing yards, only 58 rushing yards. Zach Wilson, 17 of 36, 240, and a touchdown is what it says here.
That is absolutely brutal, man. Hefty seed stat of the day. Sometimes they're ugly stats of the day.
Very ugly
give
stats.
it to you.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to say, before we move on from the NFL, my bet of the week did hit. I got mine right. The Bengals +4 against the Niners. It hit in glorious fashion.
I will say I picked that over on the Fox. Went 2-1 on the week. But yeah, well done. I think a lot of people had that, the Cincy. The Bengals, Andy's Super Bowl champ, the Bengals seem to have shaken off the first 7-game rust that they always have, and here they come.
But that's when we all thought Purdy wasn't going to play. Once Purdy was playing, were you sweating it at all, Ian?
No, I felt okay just because he just hasn't been good the last 2 weeks. 2 weeks previous, I don't know.
5 interceptions and a fumble last 3 games. More interceptions than he had in the previous 14.
Heading into the bye week this week, keep an eye on the QB situation. He'll start coming out of the bye, but if he has another clunker, they might.
You've been advocating for Darnold, Ian. You were advocating for Darnold last Thursday.
If only they had another young quarterback on the roster they could throw in.
Right?
I wonder. Maybe if they hadn't traded one away.
They should have planned for this.
I said before the season started, Purdy's going to play bad. Everyone's going to start questioning what they were doing, getting rid of Trey Lance. Here they're coming to fruition.
Yeah.
I said that, and the Bills would be bad, and Sean McDermott would be out of a job. The Bills would be mediocre.
Bills-Bengals Sunday night.
Mm-hmm.
Bills-Bengals Sunday night.
It was like a very important game for both teams there.
Yeah, huge game. All right, that's some good NFL stuff. Hefty Seed stat of the day. We talked about NDSU earlier. This is a huge week, right? So all over NDSU, SDSU this week. The Dakota Marker on the line. We got a text from Matt earlier today. Matt says, watched an SDSU team do something this weekend that was a hallmark of the great Bison teams. They looked terrible at times during the game and still cruised to victory over a highly ranked opponent. There are some real matchup problems coming in Brookings. I'm just hoping this remains a competitive game in the fourth quarter, so a playoff spot isn't too far out of reach. We got open phones and open text line the rest of the way, by the way, 701-476-1660, talking Bison. That's what you talked about too, Andy, is like nobody's picking the Bison in this game. Everybody's counting out the Bison in this game. Quick thought on SDSU for a second. That was a big game against USD, a top 5 matchup, 1 versus 4. First off, watched it back yesterday. Sitting in here, I watched it back. Kind of a bad atmosphere for it being, probably the biggest football game your program's ever had down there at USD. Felt like it was a pretty wine and cheese atmosphere. It was just, I don't know, it was all right.
From the very get-go?
It was decent from the get-go, but then,
once you're down by like 4 scores and you know which way this game's going, I understand
why. Still, just was very 6 out of 10 atmosphere. I was underwhelmed by it. USD, I think they get exposed a little bit. I said they would lose 31-17, ends up being 37-3. Coyotes take one on the chin there. Now they got to bounce back against Southern Illinois. We'll see how they stick the landing on their season. SDSU was down 3-0 after the first quarter, and they never looked back. I mean, they were able to get a ground game going. Amar Johnson had a pair of touchdowns. One of the Yankee twins ran in a reverse for a touchdown.
I said, watch out for Johnson. Everyone talks about Davis, but Johnson seems to have the big plays, too.
He's really emerged, Amar Johnson, and he obviously burned the Bison in Frisco last year, went for over 100 in that game. That's where this game lies, is the line of scrimmage. The reason why SDSU has beaten NDSU in the last 4 meetings is because they bossed the line of scrimmage. They have bossed the line of scrimmage against NDSU in the last 4 meetings. If you look at the last 4 games, the Bison have been outrushed by SDSU in each of those 4 games, and it hasn't been particularly close. National championship game last year, heavy advantage to SDSU, 283 yards on the ground. Bison only had 160. Regular season matchup in the Fargo Dome, 207 on the ground for SDSU, 127 for NDSU. That was a season low for the Bison. Fall of 21 in Brookings, SDSU a $181, NDSU a $146. That was their second lowest total of the season. COVID spring season here in the Fargo Dome, SDSU 305, Bison rushed for 97, a season low. So you get the picture there. Another stat to know heading into this game: NDSU is -7 in the turnover battle against SDSU in these last 4 losses. They have turned the ball over 7 times. The Jackrabbits have not turned it over once. No turnovers.
Got to change that. Got to be changed.
It has to
on
be.
Both sides, turning it over and not turning them over.
Yeah. And even look at last year in Frisco, right? We talked about Kobe Johnson fumbled second series for NDSU, or maybe it was a third, but it was 14-7.
It was back and forth, and you felt like you're staying with them, and then that fumble killed you.
It gives them a short field, and boom, they cash in right there. Rivalry games are decided on the line of scrimmage. They're decided with physicality. They're decided on the line of scrimmage. And SDSU has been able to flip the script from a line of scrimmage standpoint, from a battle in the trenches standpoint, to where they've been the more physical team, and they've been able to dictate the game by running the football and stopping the run for the Bison, and that's why they've won 4 consecutive in this rivalry. Look at the other rivalries in college football that have flipped in recent years. Georgia has overtaken Alabama because they've become the more physical team. They've been able to bolster up the roster in the same way that Alabama did it originally, and now they're basically Alabama 2.0, and they've won back-to-back national titles.
Montana State over Montana. The Bobcats are better on the lines of scrimmage.
There you go.
They just are. Montana might have running backs, might have some great safeties, great linebackers, but line of scrimmage battle has been the Bobcats over the stretch where Montana State's been dominant in that series.
It's a great example. Michigan, Ohio State. Michigan has flipped the script of that rivalry by getting back to old school bully ball and being the more physical team. That's why they've won back-to-back years, and that's why they've gone to the college football playoff back-to-back years. It's the same thing here at SDSU and NDSU. And in a lot of ways, I look at it as Alabama, Georgia, right? Because Alabama won all those titles. Georgia had so many heartbreaking losses to Alabama in the postseason, an SEC title game, national championship game when Tua had to throw, right? It's very similar to the Jacks. They finally got over the hump last year, much like Georgia did 2 years ago in 21. Very similar in that sense. The Bison have got to be able to embrace physicality. And like you said, Andy, too, there's a role reversal in this game. There's a role reversal. This time, NDSU comes in as the underdog, and going into the 2 losses that NDSU's had this season, NDSU wasn't the underdog in those games.
Not even close.
Not even close. Going into Frisco last year, it might have been a slight underdog. SDSU was the number 1 overall seed, unbeaten against FCS.
They were favored in that game, but a lot of
people
are saying,
gave the Bison a chance.
It's NDSU. Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
They were the favorite when they were at home against SDSU in Fargo last year. They were a toss-up when they lost to Arizona last year in Tucson.
Yep.
You're very right. It's rare. Bison have never been in this sort of...
Maybe the Iowa game.
Maybe.
But even that one, there's people saying, but you beat Kansas State. You know, there is people who believed, and especially against an FCS team, they've been the heavy favorite every single time out. Other than maybe that national championship game last year, they weren't the heavy favorite, but they were favored in the game. And they definitely weren't counted out of the game. You had a chance because you were NDSU and you could win any game. This one, there's a lot of people who say, the goal for a lot of people, what we even heard from some texters today, just don't get embarrassed. Keep it close. That's not, and I guarantee you that's not what they're talking about up on campus right now. What we're going to hear from Matt Entz at 2 o'clock today with his press conference here on Bison 1660 isn't, we're trying to go up there and keep this thing close.
No.
That's not at all. They're going there to win it. Are they going to? We'll find out on Saturday. There's a very, very good SDSU team. If you're going to go into their place and beat them and stun them, you're going to have to play a near-perfect game. You're not going to be able to turn it over 7 times to their nothing. You're going to have to flip that script. You might not win the line of scrimmage. I just think their offensive line is as good as it comes this year. And they got 6-year guys. They got guys that have been around there forever. So you might not win that area, but you got to find a different way. Can you get some passes picked off? Can you do something a little bit different? Can you be aggressive on offense a little bit more and throw that ball down the field? I think there's some areas to attack their secondary a little bit. I do think that you can get after them a little bit in that passing game. Montana State was able to do some things in that passing game earlier on this season too. So that's going to be an area you have to try and just create something different on offense.
I'm with you there, man. And we talked about this before we came on the show, and I meant to ask Phil this. I'd be curious to get his thoughts on it. I think that NDSU has a better chance in this game against SDSU if this is a shootout. I would agree. I don't think the Bison... I can't see, if you look in the crystal ball, I can't see too many projections where if this is a 20-13 game that the Bison end up coming out and winning it. I think you got to call a spade a spade. There is a heavy matchup advantage on the interior as it looks right now for SDSU over NDSU. I think NDSU's offense is more than capable. They score 37 points a game. They're the number 1 and number 2 scoring offenses in the Valley, SDSU and NDSU. I think Cam Miller's had a really good season. I think that's a strength of this team.
Got a receiver in Zach Mathis that wins every contested ball thrown his way.
Yeah,
just about.
Had a big game against these guys in Frisco. Eli Green busted out for his first career touchdown in Frisco. I think that NDSU's offense can keep up. And in the 2 games that they've lost this season, they kind of were gun-shy against USD, dug themselves too big of a hole to come out of, and ball control was the name of the game, and they ran out of time in that game. UND was a different story. They weren't able to stop anybody. You're going to have to find a way to stop people in this game. You're going to need the defense to hold up there in the bargain. But even if they can't, I do think if the offense takes care of the ball, a 38-31 or a 35-28, something like that.
38-34.
Yeah. I think actually if you gave me a blind score and said this is what the score will be on Saturday, if it's a shootout, I would actually say there's a decent chance that NDSU has a chance of winning it if that's the style game that we get.
I'm right there with you. I think the best chance is for that offense to show out and to do what they've been doing all year long and to get a bunch of points and win a higher scoring game. Do I think they can try and hold SDSU down? Yeah, but that's going to be really difficult, especially at their place, to be able to slow down Isaiah Davis and Johnson and the Yankees. One player I think is I won't even say sneaky important, but I think is really important. Looking forward to seeing if there's any update on him here at 2 o'clock from Matt Entz, is Joe Stuffel. Didn't play, shoulder injury, we know that. He has been a major part of the passing game, and I think a safety blanket for Cam Miller, too, in certain situations. You have the receivers, but you got to have that big target in the red zone where they've struggled sometimes, like against USD, they struggled there, and you've got to have him as well across the middle of the field. I think you need to have Stuffel back in this game. Hopefully he's able to go.
I agree. He's a big piece of the passing game for NDSU. He's your out of your 3 big pass catchers, him, Mathis, and Green. You need that. You're going to want to come in with a full complement. And, yeah, we'll see. We're going to have Coach Entz presser at 2. We're going to have the Bison football show tonight, 6:30 to 8. Going to be a little bit of a different show. It'll be live at Twin Peaks. Kyle Emanuel and myself will be co-hosting. Kyle's going to be out there, so come on out and say hey if you want to catch us. And then we'll get Coach on at 7 per usual and rock and roll from there.
Chance to see Kyle Emanuel in person, you say? Yeah. Twin Peaks tonight?
Yeah, baby.
Looking forward to it. That should be a lot of fun.
It should be. If you've got thoughts on this SDSU matchup for the Bison, let us know. 701-476-1660. We're all over it all week. It's a huge game. It means a ton. This rivalry always means a ton. Meeting number 115 between the Bison and the Jacks, and a rematch from last season's loss for the Bison in Frisco. We take a timeout. We continue here on the Insiders on Bison 1660.
Always having a good time, but never letting it get out of hand.
I approach you from the front and kind of like, wow, this dude's pretty serious. Then I walk away and you're like, he likes to party with 2 R's.
You've got the Insiders on Bison 1660.
There's so many things on the mind of ag operators. This is Scott Zelendik with Cornerstone Bank. Right-sizing your farm operations, interest rates, and inflation are hot-button issues, and for good reason. These concerns require a specialized approach. At Cornerstone Bank, we're here to help businesses, ag operations, and individuals when they're making important decisions about their money. We're a locally owned and managed community bank, and we've been specializing in ag banking for generations. Come see the experts at Cornerstone Bank.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
No matter where you work, whether it's at your kitchen table or in the office, you need to collaborate with your team. ProConnect from Consolidated Communications makes it happen. You'll never miss a call when you can answer from your desk phone, laptop, or cell phone. And you can communicate instantly using real-time messaging. Confidently connect with customers over secure video conferencing and work together to create and share documents. Get ready to connect, collaborate, and communicate brilliantly. Choose ProConnect, your team collaboration tool from Consolidated Communications.
DRI, formerly Dakota Refrigeration, and DRI Electrical Services is celebrating our 50th year. From dining room to training room, milk to medicine, ice to ice cream, DRI is your full-service source for your refrigeration, heating, ventilation, air conditioning, and electrical needs. Located in Fargo, Bismarck, and Minot, online at dakref.com. DAKREF.com. Or call us toll-free at 1-800-433-1665. 1-800-433-1665.
Harvest is coming. How are you planning to manage your crop residue? I'm Darren Hefty with Hefty Seed Company. As yields continue to grow, so does the amount of plant material that needs to be managed before the next planting season. This fall, speed up your residue breakdown with Decomp from Hefty Naturals. Set yourself up for better planter performance, greater available fertility, and higher yields this spring. Visit heftyseed.com/naturals or talk to your Hefty agronomist today.
Cullen Insulation is dedicated to quality from start to finish, so you have nothing to worry about all year long when it comes to your residential or commercial project. As your local Owens Corning certified energy expert, Cullen Insulation will help make your home quiet, comfortable, and energy smart. Simple home insulation solutions that improve the way you live every day. Cullen Insulation, online at culleninsulation.com. That's culleninsulation.com.
Attention, attention! Are you a plumbing journeyman or apprentice? We want you! The region's fastest growing heating, cooling, and plumbing contractor, Valley Service Mechanical, is looking for journeymen and apprentices, and we're hiring immediately. We offer competitive pay, incentives, and a fun team to work with. If you're not happy where you're at, we'll make it worth your time to check out why you should join the Valley Service Mechanical team. It's easy to apply. Online today at valleyservice.net. Just click the red banner. That's valleyservice.net.
Whether it's the FCS, NFL, or productivity at work, we have you covered.
That man is playing Galaga. Thought we wouldn't notice.
but we did.
It's the Insiders on Bison 1660.
Ryan Hill for the booming punt. Huge punt back inside the 35. It's taken by Price at the 34. Makes a man miss 40. 45-50. Price to the clear. 45-40. Gets by the punter 30. Sideline 20. 15-10. Skating the sideline. And in for the touchdown. Jaden Price. His 4th career punt return touchdown. The Price is right. A 66-yard punt return touchdown for JP, and the Bison get in the end zone on special teams to open up this third quarter.
Jaden Price, our Dakota Refrigeration cool player of the game. Dakota Refrigeration, now DRI, has been serving Minnesota, the Dakotas, and Montana for over 4 decades. Locally owned and operated since 1974, DRI is a full-service source for your refrigeration, heating, ventilation, air conditioning, and electrical service needs. Big-time punt return for Jaden Price, as Andy mentioned earlier in the show, ties Richard Lewis, who only played at NDSU for 2 years, by the way. Played for the Bison.
So he still has the record. Let's give it to him.
2000 and 2001 for most punt return TDs in school history. One more would be mean that JP is the all-time leader. So good for him.
Get it this weekend.
I would love that.
Why not have a field flipping special teams play?
Field flippers, baby. Mm-hmm. We are here for some field flippers.
Let's be, first off, phenomenal return. Well done, Jaden Price. Good to see you back in the end zone, too. Have a lot of guys that are scoring the first touchdown in quite a while. Raja Nelson, first touchdown since 2021. Braylon Henderson, first one since September 11th of 2021. Now Jaden Price getting in there again, so that's all been great to see. You need some plays like that for sure. But the other side of that one, that is one of the reasons that made that third quarter seem like an eternity. That just would not come to an end there in the second half. You had injuries, you had reviews for targeting, you had a whole bunch of stuff about when you get the ball back, and let's face it, the Bison would have been running the football, running off some clock. Well, you get that back, and you return a punt. Well, then the ball goes right back to Murray State. They're throwing it, so the clock's stopping, and all that kind of stuff. Just made that third quarter felt like a whole day right there.
Longest quarter of the season.
Oh, gosh.
That was the longest quarter of the season. And
because I do a scoreboard at the end of the third going into the fourth, and there was like 9 minutes left, and I went down to the concourse to take care of something. Came back up, and I'm like, there's still 5 minutes left? Goodness, come on.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Murray State, like you said, hit the road, Jack.
Mm-hmm. Come back when you're better.
I'm going to be honest, not looking forward to when we got to go down to Murray next season and beyond. Flying into Paducah? You ever been to Paducah?
No idea what or where that is.
It's like a southwestern Kentucky town.
Sure.
And, yeah, it's really a no man's land down there. It's like somewhat in between Tennessee and Missouri. And
Mark in America, if you're listening, tell us where Paducah is. I'm sure you've been there. I'm sure he's driven through it.
Oh,
somewhere like that.
It's a fairly like notable, like populated town.
Okay,
but
good.
Yeah, that's why there would be the airport there.
Yeah,
But it's like an
sense.
hour away from Murray.
So you could be driving.
Yeah. John Willoughby on our text line, 701-476-1660. Last chance for you to get in here as we wrap up the show. John says, SDSU, the current king, and they're playing like it, so hats off to them. We've been saying for years, rise up. Well, the competition has, and now it's time for Bison Nation to rise up. Who's going to be the players that step up on defense and offense to help knock off the king? We need T-Mac running hard and angry. We need a defense that not only creates pressure but finishes it. It'll be an interesting game to see who shows up and who rises up, horns up, and go Bison. Nicely done there. John Willoughby out there in the bunker in Montana.
I agree with all that stuff. Hopefully you are hunkered down in the bunker there, John. You guys got quite a bit of snow out in Montana. CC in the Lakes area, though. NDSU, SDSU rivalry week. By the way, this is all in caps. Can't wait for Can't wait to be there in person and lift that rock in front of SDSU fans crying. Going to be beautiful. That would be a sight to see. CC, appreciate the text. And Bison Pride versus our true rivals. Can't wait to see NDSU go down there, and they will fight, period. CC had the same kind of conversation we were talking about NDSU UND, said that's not a rivalry. More people are going to be at the UNI game than they will be at the UND game. I saw how that one went, but I do agree with CC here. The true rivals are the ones of the South, because that one is a rival that you're battling for a championship with. NDSU and UND right now, you're battling for a game, the one game, the Pride, versus SDSU. You're fighting to say we can win a championship, and to put yourself on that level that SDSU right now is on, and NDSU is probably a half step or a step below them right now, just in terms of this season alone. And quote-unquote, the possibility of winning a championship.
What they've done here, you got to give them a lot of credit. Like John said, hats off to them. They've won 22 in a row. They've won 22 in a row. The last loss was, remember, last season, the opener against Iowa.
Last loss in a FCS game? Do you know that one?
Montana State in the semis.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, Montana State in 21 before the Bison beat Montana State in Frisco. So, yeah, they lost back-to-back, and now they've won 22 in a row. The new coach, Rogers, continuity, young guy Jimmy Rogers, former player for SDSU, takes over for Stig. Yeah, they've built up, and they've built it in the Bison image, right? Mm-hmm. They've done it the way the Bison started this thing. And that's what makes this compelling. And that's why, even more reason, like Cece said, you got to get up and fight. You got to get up and fight for this game if you're the Bison. You got to have some pride. There are multiple players on this NDSU roster who might not have beaten SDSU so far throughout their career.
Later this week, I'm going to have something that's kind of fun. I think a lot of fans are saying this SDSU is just too good. They're too good right now. NDSU, this isn't one of the Bison's best teams. You've seen some weaknesses. So NDSU can't beat SDSU this year. This matchup, other than that game in the championship game in Frisco last year, it's always been close. It finds a way to usually be very, very close, come down to a play here, a play there, 4th and Cofield. Remember that one from the last time the Bison won it. There's been some SDSU teams that had some serious question marks and some kind of head-scratching, like, what's going on there this year, moments before they played NDSU. And some of those years, NDSU had great teams, and SDSU still won. So I know NDSU's got some question marks right now. I know there's some kinks in the armor for sure, and SDSU is loaded and has a great team. No doubt, not taking anything away from them. They have earned the number 1 seed. They absolutely wiped the floor with the USD and showed everyone that team is a ways away from the Jacks. But this rivalry has been a little bit different. SDSU has won it when they've kind of had a down year, and NDSU has been great before. Not saying it's going to happen, but saying it has happened in this rivalry, and it could happen again.
I think it's an excellent point, Andy. I think it's an excellent point. It is a throw the records out the window type of game, and if you're the Bison, I say embrace everything. Embrace the rivalry. Embrace the underdog, people counting you out. Embrace backs against the wall, knowing the significance of these next 3 games. This is basically the postseason beginning. This is basically the postseason beginning for NDSU.
If you win this game, you're in the playoffs.
Oh, absolutely.
It comes down to that. You win this game, even if you were to lose the next 2, you had 7-4. You would be playing on Thanksgiving, clearly. But if you win this game, you're in. Mm-hmm. There's no chance they'll keep you out, even at 7-4, if you have a win against SDSU at SDSU. So you win this one, you're in the playoffs.
Yep.
I mean, it means a lot for the rivalry and the Rock, but it means a lot for your postseason aspirations. Plus, you win this one. Now we're not talking about, can they make a run? We're talking about, are they a top 4 seed? They're definitely a top 8 seed, but you win this one, then the brackets all look a little bit different next week. The polls look a little bit different next week.
Well, I tell you what, man, after you had Idaho knocking off Montana State inside the 8th wonder of the world, the Kibbe Dome, everything shakes up once again. You have USD taking one on the teeth. How about UND escaping the clutches of the Sycamores, just getting out by the skin of their teeth in overtime against last place Indiana State? Last place Indiana State, along with Western down there in the Valley. They were down by 3, needed a desperate 2-minute drive by Schuster to put that game in overtime, and then they were able to win it on the kick.
The Fighting Hawks had their foot firmly planted on the landmine. Firmly planted on a landmine. The bomb tech came in, diffused the thing, and they're alive.
Well, Jeremy Renner.
That's what happened
blocker
there. You had your foot was firmly planted on a landmine, season at risk. You lose to a team that has a 0 in the win column, and you're at home to that team.
Over.
You're out of the top 25. My opinion. Yeah, you beat NDSU. Congratulations, but you got shut out by Northern Iowa, and then you would have lost to Indiana State. That is a landmine that puts you out of the playoffs, and now needing to win at the end of the season to get back in to the playoff picture. They survived it. They won. That's what you needed there. Got off the landmine, but boy, is that not impressive. And 2 games after, again, beat NDSU season. That's the Super Bowl for them, and they won that one. And they no matter what happens the rest of the season, it's a successful season for UND. I get that, but it's not looked the same team the last couple of weeks. That's for sure.
Ditto. I'm right there with you, man. We got to get one more timeout in. When we come back, final thoughts as we wrap up the show here on a Monday.
Your home for the Thundering Herd.
Hey, you got any left-handed football?
Bison 1660.
Get ready to save big with Horn Plastics during their inventory reduction sale with discounts of up to 50% on select liners. Horn Plastics offers durable industrial bed liners for light, medium, and heavy-duty applications. All bed liners are custom to fit your dump truck or trailer. Don't wait. The inventory reduction sale ends December 31st or while supplies last. For more information, call Horn Plastics today and talk with a sales rep to get the best liner for you. Horn Plastics, 701-282-7447.
At Trail King Industries, they're not just building trailers, they're building a legacy. Trail King is looking for production, second shift maintenance positions, and 20 welders to be part of that legacy. Full-time hires receive 80 hours paid time off, comprehensive health, dental, and vision insurance, and a solid 401k plan to secure your future. Plus, they're offering a $3,000 sign-on bonus for new team members. Trail King is an EEO and affirmative action workplace. Apply today at trailking.com and click careers.
Invest in your local community with Epic Companies. Hey, this is Mac. Have you been looking to diversify your portfolio and dive into real estate? We offer multiple types of investing throughout our mixed-use buildings and entertainment plazas. If you're an accredited investor and interested in hearing more about the investment process and how you can be a part of enhancing the quality of life in the area, visit epiccompaniesnd.com to review our investment options. That's epiccompaniesnd.com. Investing is limited to accredited investors only.
Stay focused with multifocal contact lenses from Eyes on Broadway and Rexine Family Eye Care. Hi, I'm Dr. Michael Rexine, your downtown eye doc. Multifocal contacts have multiple prescriptions embedded in one lens, ideal for people who need correction for both near and far vision. They can provide the ability to see objects at all distances.
Set up an appointment with Dr. Michael Rexine or myself, Dr. Vanessa Manlove, at michaelrexine.com, with locations in both Fargo and Mayville.
I promise you will see the difference.
This season, the NDSU Bison have added a new recruit to the lineup. This new player is smooth and cold as ice. It's a refreshing start to the new football season, but this player is only available for a limited time. It's the NDSU Bison commemorative Bud Light cans. Decked out with Bison pride, these cans feature the colors and helmet of the herd. Bison fans, grab these special limited edition Bud Light Bison cans now at your favorite liquor store. Bud Light, the official beer sponsor of the Bison.
Hey Bison Nation, it's Kyle Emanuel, and I found out firsthand that determining what insurance plan you need can actually be easy. You just need someone that you trust. That's why I use the good neighbors over at the Ryan Kill State Farm Agency. There was nothing hard, overwhelming, or frustrating about it. We talked about my priorities and what I cared about protecting the most. He gave me his recommendations and I decided what made the most sense for me. No pressure, no hidden agenda, just one good neighbor looking out for another.
If you want a good neighbor on your sideline, reach out by going to RyanKillInsurance.com.
Here for you, for all the Bison football coverage you can handle.
These guys do an unbelievable job, and you want to know what's going on in Bison sports? Tune into the Insiders.
The Insiders on Bison 1660 and 92.7 FM.
Ball in the Case IH red zone from the 15. First down and 10. Run play up the middle. Barika Penu charging forward. No, it's Cam Miller on the keeper. And he runs it right into the end zone. And he is in there for a Bison touchdown.
That is our E.W. Wiley drive of the game. Bison score on their opening possession. And they have scored on their opening offensive possession in all 8 games this season. They've gotten points in some form or fashion, touchdown or field goal, on all 8. And they did it once again by winning the coin toss, taking the ball first, and marching down the field to get into the end zone for a touchdown. Second straight week that they've done that. Drive of the game, presented by E.W. Wiley. E.W. Wiley, a leader in the trucking industry for over 85 years. From small companies to Fortune 500s, E.W. Wiley has the fleet to go the extra mile and get it done. Online at wileytrucking.com.
5 plays, 65 yards, 2 minutes, 46 seconds to make it 7-0. Coolest part about that drive, they won the toss and they took the ball. Back-to-back weeks. That has happened now. Will that be a trend we see the rest of the season? I think it's one thing when you walk into a game and you say, we are clearly the better. Our opponent is overmatched today. Let's put the offense out there, get some points, and tell them this is going to be a long day. When you're going up against a team like SDSU now, is it the same philosophy? Do you think about it the same way? Or are you more, maybe thinking about, well, we got to have that possibility of scoring at the end of the first half, beginning of the second, that back-to-back possession thing? Be interesting to see what happens. And again, when you're facing a different style of opponent.
Mm-hmm. I will say one thing. You heard Coach maybe in the postgame presser, he said, listen, like, we're going to have to play defense first at some point and make a stop. So, like, that's the one thing. But it is play to your strengths. Strength of the team is the offense at the moment. Play to your strengths. And like Phil said on the phone, eventually we're going to stop talking. We're going to have some the push comes to shove here in November. Push comes to shove. So, but yeah, good for NDSU. They get in the ball and they're going to score. Not pulling the Matt Hasselbeck at the moment. So, knock on wood there.
Matt Ent's press conference today at 2 o'clock. We've got the Bison Football Radio Show tonight, 6:30 to 8, out at
Twin Peaks.
There you go, with Kyle Emanuel. And the head coach, Matt Entz, will be on for a bit as well.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Looking forward to it. We'll have that presser at 2, like Andy said.
Tomorrow,
Sam Herder.
grilled down Sam Herder.
Andy is
his feet to the fire.
A little interrogation.
Yep. Good cop, bad cop. Love Sam. Good buddy. We're going to have some fun tomorrow with it.
That's going to be fun. That's coming up for you mañana. Bittersweet. Hope that Kirk is feeling a little better.
Jaron Hall. Throw the ball. Throw the ball with Jaron Hall.
All right, I'm out of here. See you guys.
Join the Bison 1660 Hotline Show live after every NDSU Bison football game at Applebee's. Andy, Chris, and former players will break down the Bison game. Who had the best catch, who ran for the most yards, and maybe who to watch for next week. While there, satisfy your hunger cravings and take advantage of Applebee's great happy hour specials. Plus, try your luck at winning Bison 1660 swag and NDSU tickets. After every Bison football game, enjoy the Bison Hotline live from Applebee's off 19th Avenue North, Fargo.
Wimmer's Diamonds is turning 104, and we want to share the excitement with you. Now through November 4th, take advantage of incredible savings of 20 to 50% off our in-stock diamond pendants, earrings, and bracelets. Whether you prefer natural or lab-grown diamonds, we have the finest pieces for you. And the icing on the cake? A chance to win a 1-carat lab-grown diamond. Join us as we celebrate 104 years of excellence and endless love at Wimmer's Diamonds.
Hey Bison Nation, are you a safe driver? Well, you can save big with the Agents with Answers at Nodak Insurance Company. Safe drivers can save up to 30% on their insurance premiums when you enroll in the Drive for Less program from Nodak Insurance. All you gotta do is download the Nodak Insurance app today for your chance to start saving